Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to our PlayStation Tournament's Master Circuit for Apex Legends. My name is Randy, and I am joined by Matrum. It is super exciting to be here, and for everyone who is an Apex fan, get ready. We've got North America now in the books after finishing off EMEA, or Europe, in great fashion. We don't play, putting together a star-studded performance, even winning with 2 players at the very end. Matrum, hopefully NA can top that.
Well, that's always the fun with NA, right? Is the fact that we don't play. They're a phenomenal team, and EMEA has kind of been their stomping grounds. And now we go over to North America, where it'll be more, I'm not trying to say this in a negative way, more balanced. It's just the fact that there'll be a couple of teams that are going to be vying in. We do have like some normals that we tend to see over here that can be taking ahead a lot of the leads, such as Fake Preds and whatnot. Titanis, that we've seen have some star performances, but actually not here today. So that's going to be a big opportunity for a lot of these other teams that are trying to climb up and get their last chance for the qualifier.
Well, Matrum, you know, a veteran in the Battle Royale scene. We're excited to have you here doing Apex with me. I'm excited as well. You're bringing a different look at to what, you know, in terms of the game is going on. Make sure you guys stay tuned. It's going to be a fun cast. Let's give you the overview, though, of how this is going to work, because the format, pretty similar if you watched earlier on. It's going to be trios, up to 20 teams, and 5 games. The key to this, though, is that we may have 13 teams. That's what we had in Europe. We may have 20, which could be a full lobby. They're all vying for cash prizing today, but the key is 5 games. That is the point, because you have to get it done in 5. You don't have that extra game, that buffer that you might be used to. So everything that you do, Match'em, you're going to have to make it count and count big.
Points per game and being able to salvage a game is huge. So how do you keep those points per game as high as possible? Easy. We're going to be looking at the point system right here. It's 12 points for first. It's going to be 9 points for second, so for third, and then it's just going to diminish down into 15th place. After that, 16th through 20th, you get absolutely nothing. So you at least want to make sure that you're hitting inside of that top 15 bracket to walk away with something at the end of the day. But on top of that, every single time you get a kill or elimination, you're going to walk away with 1 point. So whenever we see those stacked together, we're seeing sometimes a 30-point game for some of these teams. So big performances.
All right, well, and you know what they get if they get a big performance? Oh, yeah, it's the prize pool. $600 for first place. Second place going to bring in a cool $300. Third and fourth, which we saw interchange over the last game. The last fight ended up deciding whether one of our fourth or third place teams got $150 or a seat in the seasonal final. Recall, first through 10th will also get that seat, but only first through fourth will actually get the prizing. And that is what makes that final game, or those placements early on, those points that we referenced, and the way that you play within 5 matter so much. Let's take a look, though, at when you look back at what happened over, you know, the week here. Match'em, it was a lot of action that led us to this point, our final wildcard day before our finals in January.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some big step-ups and some big clutch moments inside of this one. It's kind of become the nature of the beast in the Americas, is the fact of being able to just figure out the best way to approach circles, and specifically since we're playing on Broken Moon, which is a new map, trying to navigate it through. We did see Rollers MX have some big performances, but the story was continually being the Fake Preds and what they could manage to put up. They're not here this weekend. So teams like Rollers MX that have been trying to make some type of climb up this leaderboard, now going to have the opportunity. B&B trying to make the climb as well, parallel. A lot of these teams. Titanis was the competition, though, last week. I would say earlier this week, actually, against Fake Preds. But Titanis not being here also means the fact that what can you do? Moving into the holidays, a couple of these teams that have been wanting to get an early Christmas present might be able to pick up one, as now they have the capabilities to walk in, have some good games, maybe walk away with some prize pool and a definite qualification capability.
Well, it's certainly a great kind of reference point that you gave us. These are the teams qualified for today. You're right, Titanes, they will not be here. We will be missing a few of our top teams. That doesn't mean it's going to be any easier to make it to the top in this lobby. B&B, you know, there's not enough to say about them. These are winners, proven winners within the Apex community here in our Masters circuit. Also, Parallel, a team that has won over the course of these weeks also. And you even look at teams like Rollers MX, who are here, who have not won a day yet, but are one of the teams that win maps throughout our 3 match point or Master Circuit wild cards. So can they turn it around, get the full package heading in today? Of course, when you talk about how these teams sign up and why they are here, you got to go to one thing and one thing only. It is, of course, compete compete.playstation.com. That is the reason they have been able to be so successful, showing up week in and week out, having a chance to earn prizing, having a chance to be on broadcast. And if you're interested in this opportunity, it's open to you. Go to compete.playstation.com and sign up for our next Master Circuit, or just have a chance to go ahead and find the schedule of when cool events around esports and games that you love are happening. I know, Matrim, if you're an FPS fan, if you're a fighting game fan, they've got something for everybody.
I mean, we've got some Madden coming down the line. I'm a sucker for watching anything that's like fighting games as we're moving through, but there is so much to be looking at as we're going to be going through these last couple of months. I do want to point out to everybody that as you're playing through, we've got the win-a-thon that's going on. Rack up wins in PlayStation tournaments throughout all of December and January for a chance to win prizes like the new DualSense Edge controller and even PS5 consoles. Sign up on console and start competing for prizes today. Full rules can be read on where else? Compete.playstation.com, because there are tons and tons of opportunities. There's a ton of different esports that I am not good at playing, but I enjoy watching, and I guarantee you're going to find something out there. Like, I'm a sucker for a good Madden tournament. Like, I don't even watch regular football that much, but there's something about Madden tournaments I love.
I love Madden too. I had the privilege of doing a lot of Madden when I started a few years ago, and RG and Scott Cole, I think the guys who end up doing this PlayStation broadcast. Big shout out to them. A lot of love to those guys, and they definitely put on a show. So make sure to tune into that. It might be somewhere around the 20th or something. I think it is before Christmas and the holidays kick off. But either way, we got a lot of great action. So make sure to check compete.playstation.com, and you don't have to guess. You could find out. The schedule is right there, and we'll also at the end of the show run you through the schedule of upcoming events. Heading into map 1, I mean, this is where we get to see the action. I think I raised an interesting kind of point. Will we see Rollers and Mechs who have something to prove? A team that's performed well, they can team fight Matrim, but they haven't won on the day. This could be an opportunity for them, not only because, we know they have what it takes, but Titanes, they are not here. We also don't have Fake Preds. The two most winningest teams, they are not here today. So it opens up kind of some pathway and room to run.
Here's my concern, though, is while I love MX Rollers, B&B is scary, and B&B is going to have an opportunity today as well. And if anything, we were seeing them earlier this week try to assert more and more authority inside of a circle. So I would say it's going to come down to drop location, how people are wanting to navigate this map. I'm hoping the fact that we're going to see our stronger teams play opposite sections of the map, because there's nothing worse than having like your two star teams drop and land right next to each other and then fight in the first 5 minutes, and whoever wins that one goes on to win the round. It's much better to see the dominance. I love to see the tidal wave of two teams walking at each other and the bodies that stack up back behind them.
We also saw a change in the pace of the game when things shifted up to a northern circle. Yet in the first 4 games, we saw completely southern circles in Broken Moon, the newest map that's played competitively whatsoever in the Apex ecosystem. And I think that also will tell a story of where does Rollers and Mechs find themselves positioned. We challenged, could it happen if we don't play? Could they play north and south? They could, but that's a really special team. Rollers and Mechs, maybe they have a southern landing. Maybe that ends up shifting as we tend to see more southern zones and puts them in a situation where they're really able to thrive. But on the flip side, you're right, B&B. Well, I mean, I cannot say enough about the aggressiveness this team has, but also the capability that they've demonstrated a team fight match. It's going to be a tough task for even teams like Parallel, who have 2 map wins on the 3 match days. So successful. They've also won a day to even compete against B&B.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of teams that are kind of X factors because we haven't had a chance to really see what they can do, just due to the fact that whenever we see this lobby, a lot of times in North America, we have a lot more teams that are going to be dropping, so therefore the points of interest and drop locations are far more contested, and that means to a lot more early game skirmishing. And
that's true.
It's harder to get your feet underneath of you if you're one of these teams that's always landing next to like Fake Preds or something else like that. Now that they're not here, those drop locations are not going to be contested, and they might have some opportunities to really showcase what they can do in the later stages of the game. So I wouldn't be surprised if a team or two that is kind of a dark horse really has themselves a phenomenal day today.
Well, that's what they've got to decide. How are they going to approach this? If there is a team like Fake Preds and Titanes who are now not in the circle and they took a priority drop spot, but you've already gotten used to the drop spot that you have on Broken Moon when they are in your lobbies, which they will be in the grand final. Do you switch it up for today? to try to get a win, to try to get more cash prizing? Do you practice what you're going to use in the grand finals, knowing they will be there waiting for you in January 7th? The strategy to it, there's kind of multifaceted, and making the right choice isn't always easy because you don't always know what the right choice is, especially in a game of RNG, like a Battle Royale. Apex Legends kicking off our final wild card day before we send our teams into January and to the new year to battle it out for PS5s and the biggest prize pool of the season. But for now, they got to get there, and that's going to be the task of these teams. Looking like lobby's getting loaded up in here. I see a Catalyst on the Hydras on number 17 there, Matchroom. I would love to see some Catalyst today.
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing some more variations on the North American side of this, and that's no surprise. Sometimes whenever you're playing through, especially on last day of qualifiers, sometimes there's this discussion about always playing the meta, right? Like, this is the mathematically best gun, this is the mathematically best legend, all this other stuff. But also, sometimes that doesn't matter, because if you're just phenomenal at a specific legend, and sure, the other one's quote-unquote better, what's better for you can get you the victory 9 times out of 10. So lean into what you think is going to work for you best, because when you're most comfortable, you're going to play the best.
You bring a great point up there. A lot of teams try to do things for others, and they try to copy. But when you really look at a formula that works best for you, it takes time. And when you find it, though, you do feel free. It feels like it's working for outsiders who have found a Pathfinder, Watson, Catalyst lineup. It was even hard to say. I can't believe this is the approach. I mean, a lot to dissect there, Matchroom.
Is your goal to go fast? Is your goal to defend? I don't know. I almost feel like the goal of this comp is to die so the Pathfinder can go out and res them. I don't know. Stay in one spot until 2 of us die, and then you come back and get us, and then we res again and try again. There's the capabilities for that. We also do have some drops that are coming into play that are pretty contested, most notably Atmos Station, as we are getting a kind of centered circle to start this one off.
Big shots here. Lucy on the Newcastle, just going to throw up that shield, and now use that as kind of a line of sight blocker, and even back up. Doesn't want to get pushed in front of it. You can move that shield quickly, though, so some bait and switch opportunities if people do get too aggressive. And now just on the Hemlock, going to hit some hip-fire shots there. It's not enough to finish him off, but the triple take will do it. Lucy staying alive, and it seems like High Precision will do enough in this fight to win their 3v3, even though they have got one player down. And just as I spoke, 1, 2, fall. High Precision, though, will clean that one up, and it was Rollers MX. Whoa, what do you know?
Well, Dark Horse teams coming out look like they do have an opportunity. With this, I gotta say, High Precision hitting some high precision hip fire shots with that triple take, man. It gave them whatever they needed it, but you can see a couple of firefights now starting to break out in other sections of the map. Looking around, I think that we're looking more into the north. Yep, right along the edge of the zone. Hydra's coming in here, and they've got themselves a Sentinel to try to kick it off, and a ranged fight off the get-go. Ooh, if that had connected, that would have been gold.
Hydra's rocking the Catalyst Goku Black. I love to see it. One of my favorite animes to reference.
Yeah.
Gotta love me some Goku.
Are we gonna start singing like the what is it? I don't know. What's the new opening song for it? I forget. Of Dragon Ball Super, man. Oh, yeah, okay. I give it up. The joke was there and I lost it.
It was there. You lost it. I sensed where you were going for, and guess what? If we started an anime theme song intro sing-along, we'd probably have to stop it around Game 5 just to make sure that we didn't go an entire tournament without mentioning any of the action. So I'm going to stop us before we start because I feel like there could get a lot of rhythm going on there. Hydra's, yeah, they see it. They have the exhibit down defensively, and so they know that the push is maybe coming here.
They've got to be careful with the way that they're lined up right now. BNB is also kind of around this location. This is just the south. There are 3 teams that are kind of skirmishing just to the northeast of this position, but they're being forced down this way based off of BNB's position. So if Hydras don't start to get something out of this and finish it fast, there we go. Well, now we're going to see how this is going to go out. Yes, the firefights are heard, and that looks like it is going to be Ghost coming back in behind this.
Oh, and Mirage being played as well.
I know, I saw that.
Going to be difficult. for Silent to figure this out. It's already under duress from multiple teams and angles. The Dark Veil from Goku Black, you know, did a lot of work there and just cutting off line of sight, and that's what we're finding Catalyst is having the value in. Just being able to go and say, I don't want to fight you right now, and if you do want to fight me, you're going to have to give up your position. There'll be no peppering, there'll be no KP from a distance. You're going to have to wait till my veil comes down, or you're going to have to show up and talk to me with a hip fire. And, well, there's the risk of going down if you do that. And so Goku Black calls the bluff. They're going to have a chance to get up Rage Lord here as they seem to be slowly recovering, but it's not a full recovery. That shot will do well for him, though.
Now we got to start making the push in. It's going to be Jay Silent kind of leading the way as Rez does come back in on the Rage Lord, but you can see now it's going to be 4 different teams that have now all silted into here. Neighbors is going to go down, but this is not the end of the company as BNB has made landfall. Very, very close. Shots now coming out. Hydra's still not really having a chance to get much loot onto him. You can see Rage Lord still sitting on white shields, but it's going to be BNB on the other side. Dynasty taking a ton of damage. Spray's going to connect for a lot, but there is not a lot of safety to be had.
Wow.
He jumps from one spot into another one. Dynasty putting in some work. Hydra's in some serious trouble.
Oh my god, ADMP though has the armor swap, and that is why the Hydras have fallen. It is BNB who managed that situation so well, and a lot of maturity on display. ADMP looks like he could have gone out. Dynasty did, but they did enough to stay alive, and got to commend Hydras for making that a tough fight for them. They were fighting 2 to 3 squads there at that time, and one of the best squads in the lobby almost came out on top.
I mean, TPK was getting herded down here by BNB, and they inadvertently became the catalyst. Only Ghost from TPK is walking out of this, and BNB sitting on kills, loot galore. They're already sitting on 2 purples, and we're not even, half of the circle closed on the first ring? This is a momentum game for them off the get-go.
And that's what you want off the get-go, too.
Yeah.
It's really important to establish yourself in this lobby. And those moments, those fights, they stick with you. And sometimes they stick more than they should because you overanalyze it, when really it might have been everything done right. You just got unlucky. I feel like maybe Hydras are more in that position. I would love to see the Catalyst continue to come out. Feels like they managed the situation well. But unfortunately, B&B were just there a little bit too late. Ruthless Ramparts going to get pushed down from above by a duo of Oni. And so that's always good to start off when you have 2 players too.
I mean, picking up some kills early, surviving it out. And I do agree with what you were saying a second ago with the I don't think that anybody was expecting a 4-team fight to be established at that stage. TPK, I do think, got a res back into this. I don't know for certain. I can't tell if it's just Ghost is still up, if they got the res, or if there's always just been 2, but they are just right on top of each other. Outsiders, though, finding some action as it's going to be Dinosaur Venom hitting some shots into this one to get a knock. He's had some star performances for himself as well.
Yeah, that is certainly true. Starting to get one right here to maybe talk about. It's a nice grapple. Really good aggressiveness, and has the turbocharger onto the Havoc. Ultimately, just hearing that there's a res going around and holding off for Black Mamba. This exhibit actually is one of those interesting things about exhibit. Doesn't show you when you're in the air, so an enemy not seeing footsteps might think that they're safe, but a grapple from Dinosaur Venom might actually put him into the ability to contest and do a ton of damage onto an unsuspecting enemy. Luckily, they're aware of it on their toes, and Dinosaur Venom forced a medkit. He will get that off. And so,
I was going to say, this is right along the edge of the zone, but it's taxing. You can see there's been several times that both members have almost gone down, finally get the res up. But while this is an early circle, it doesn't hurt terribly bad, but that just means like a bullet here or there can get a knock on you if you're not careful, because you just might not be paying attention to how much damage you have already taken.
Well, it's risky, right? You kind of have to weigh the pros and cons in doing this. Dinosaur Venom may not have enough in the tank to be able to continue fighting. Only 3 syringes that we could see. Not sure if there's another med kit in the stash, but he's going to charge up. He's going to use the shield cell and charge up that Sentinel. He's already hit 1 shot with it and misses that one, but again, look at that health. He's going to have to pop a syringe very, very soon. He does have another med kit.
Yeah, but Fat Rips is going out to the west and heading more into cultivation, wrapping down and around. Are Outsiders going to commit? It does look like this is the pathing that Dinosaur Venom wants to take. Packers has already moved into the ring, just going due north. So this is kind of by himself. Jason Jack is also a solo kind of hanging out around here. We've had a lot of early game fights, and with that, not a lot of very strong teams coming in. Is really loot situation's pretty weak on a lot of these teams.
Zone 2, a minute and 20 before that's closed up. Ghost on the rampage, one of my favorite weapons. I know it's hit or miss for some people. Bit of a staccato type beat when firing it, and doesn't always blend towards people's fancies. I tend to think that the potential of that weapon is just so amazing, and I love the range. You could hip fire it, you could use it from distance. They've got the bruiser on it, so they've got the 2 times, and to me, it's just such a fun weapon. I always pick it up if I can. B&B, I mean, they're doing well also. 2 purple magazines. Digi-Threat, basically all leveled up. R301 and CAR for ADMP, and 6 shield batteries. So not only do they have the weaponry, they've got the utility too.
If you're wondering why everybody else is kind of fighting for just any med kit they can find, it's because B&B has it all right now. They've been running around killing everybody. Hey, you remember TPK that they were chasing originally that led into that Dry Gulch fight? Well, they found another. They found the res on it. Looks like they're chasing down potential of one more, as Ghost did shift into the west, and he's over there next to White Shimigami, and that's kind of very far over into the west for Copium to be playing from, but solos for TPK just kind of hiding out everywhere, as, yep, Shin's going to go down. I don't even think he managed to have shields.
Yeah, that wasn't a very hard fight there. Dynasty cleaning that one up. Bit of a forgot to handle this problem. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back into the car. And a few minutes later shows up. B&B sending a message and setting a tone that this is not a lobby they're too worried about. And each of them individually are capable enough to back that statement up.
We were talking about a lot of teams coming into this one, but we really didn't get a chance to dive into Outsiders, who has a lot of upside to them. They have found they really understand the map. Whenever we see them make some star plays, it's always very, very intelligent. They understand their win conditions, but sometimes just get pounced by too many teams just coming in at them at one point. Already being down to 10 squads left means the fact that their kryptonite kind of isn't their problem right now, and they've already kind of moved in, got themselves a fairly centered position inside of this circle. So with this, really the threat that's going to be closest to them is most likely going to be 2 solos, and then to the north it's going to be B&B, but that's the opposite side of the circle.
You can be also having a interesting choice with Dynasty on the Pathfinder. Typically this lineup is accompanied by a Bloodhound in the place of Pathfinder for 2 reasons. One, Bloodhound scans really helpful for the team in moments like this where you might be able to see outlines and silhouettes of the enemies, even though it's pretty difficult to watch right now. 2, the fact that they're also a beacon character, so you can get that information, which right now they have, of where the zone is going to move, which is allowing them to get up in front of these teams they know are going to have to rotate through them. The big difference, though, is Dynasty on that Pathfinder here has mobility at a level that is much greater than Bloodhound itself. And if he utilizes it right, you can see the impact that he's going to be able to have here in this lineup. Not only finishing off 1-2, but also getting aggressive if need be. And B&B taking full advantage of that, even fighting in the zone, willing to continue pushing to make sure your Plugs Plug TV either goes out or gives them KP.
Running back, I don't know if Plugs Plug managed to pick up any of the beacons. Doesn't look like it, as it's not making the path back over into there. As just to the north of where we see B&B, which is going to be the northern part of the circle, you can see kind of dancing around in the orange on the map to the left side. Plugs Plug is all the way off the map, very far to the north. As to the south, it looks like we had the capabilities for a couple of teams to bump into each other, as you can see that White Shinigami and their crew were kind of approaching over here, as Copium had the idea of coming in over here next to Outsiders, but I don't think that they're committing in on this angle. Fat Rips, Jay-Sean, the solos up, he's still holding down around here as well, and 46 off the get-go. Gonna get any more? Nope, as it looks like those shots are going to at least be enough to make Dinosaur Venom get into a more aggressive position, as he's moving very, very close.
This should be an easy burst there. Sinjay, and feeling the heat of the Black Mamba from the charge rifle. And again, Outsiders like I had mentioned, in a good position. I mean, understanding the way that these 2 choke points are going to be 2 options for them to push in, but also playing very, very safe from distance and, covering their tracks too. Just making sure that, anyone who might be rotating there, and I think they do sense that there could be a team coming through. There is. It's the Sorrower 1995 and as well, trying to cut the battlefield in half and give themselves a bit of respite. It works so well with Catalyst and just buying time for your team and repositioning. And it seems like the piercing spikes looking to also dislodge and move away any of the threats that might be above them.
Yeah, DDK is going to have to step away from this one. It's a good defensive lineup coming out from Outsiders. They've got Black Mamba on one side of it, and then they've got Dinosaur and Packers that are just defending up. As they're finding damage, they're just doing a good job of forcing away. But this is also impacting Jay-Sean Jack, who is the solo that was kind of waiting for DDK to move into the circle, is now, with those 2 coming out and riding the rails, Jay-Sean Jack has kind of had to hang back over here. He has an opportunity. 2 death trails is very, very low. If he played this aggressive, he might be able to get a kill on both of these.
It's
it's too late now. Yeah, it's too late.
It's really just a timing thing, isn't it? You have to have the perfect setup. You have to have the perfect spot. You have to have someone maybe give you a little bit of luck. The smoke is going to go there, but Jay-Sean Jack isn't fooling anyone. The old in and out. Might try to take the zip rail away. Not a bad idea. Zip rails.
Ooh.
Utilize your momentum. And he's just going back.
Oh, wait. While this is going on, B&B made a jump right into Outsider's position. Copium gets eliminated.
Ooh.
They just hopped on the rail, and they are sending it right into the thick of all of them. So Jay-Sean Jack is just going to rotate out around, get away, but there is a pathing back into the circle is going through South Promenade. B&B looks like they decided that they didn't want control over the circle. They wanted control over the entirety of the game.
Well, they want to control over the KP, right? They don't want the teams fighting in that outskirts to get these points that could go to them. And that's been one of their strategies on these days. Absolute domination. Again, we talked about the Bloodhound. Mobile, but not as mobile as the Pathfinder, the Horizon, and the Bangalore together. So this team is meant to move. They're meant to run around and find kills on these outskirts and take fights because they can, all 3 of these legends, are the best at getting out of trouble or at least buying time by having better mobility and movement and repositioning than teams that they are facing. It just happens to be the team that they're going against, pretty veteran themselves. It is Dinosaur, Venom, and Squad, and they're just taking the zip lines away. They Packers, Black Mamba, so they have decided it is not worth finishing that fight off. They've lost 1, and now B&B looking for more.
This is just bullying upon bullying as Jay-Sean Jack managed to spot out Solo, managed to kill him. Remember the pathing he had to take? Well, DDK had to take that because of Outsiders. Well, with B&B making the push into location, that same spot where we saw Jay-Sean Jack as well as DDK make a push, guess what? Outsiders now having to go through that same path, so these 3 teams are still next to each other even though they've had to rotate half the map away from where they were a second ago.
That's the way it is, isn't it?
It does feel like that sometimes.
I love sometimes the tried and true things are the most, the oldest sayings are sometimes the most tried and true, and that's just the way it is. Reminding me there that, sometimes you cannot do much about a situation, but you can control your reaction to it and the next thing that you do when it comes about. So B&B giving that age-old speech to many teams here in round number 1, or game number 1 rather, of our wild card day number 4. Looking for more teams. Really, I see the duo that they look to be shooting at. This is the same team, Dinosaur Venom, Packers, and Mamba were on. I just don't know as a duo. Do you think they can take down? Well, the question is answered immediately. No.
B&B is feeling it, man. That spray a second ago, I think that we saw 108 just coming out from them. Dynasty's going to go ahead and go back into the circle, get control over that. So you're seeing what's going on. There's iElectrolyte, Solo up, 2 members for DDK, your Plug that we saw earlier having to run. Pretty much, it's everybody that's been having to run from B&B for quite a while, and we're the only teams that successfully got away, now having to deal with B&B.
That is a great point. On top, DDK, the Sorrow, 1995. They've done a good job, actually, as a duo as well. Some of these teams start out as a duo. They end up as a trio. This house belongs to iElectrolyte.
It does.
As the Caustic. we saw the Caustic. Yeah, like you're right. You know what's coming for you. And for good measure, I mean, you could easily 2v1 as a caustic if someone pushes your gas canisters and you have your ultimate, which is exactly what Electrolyte has. The unfortunate part, not in the zone. So gonna have to move within 15 seconds. Enjoy your time in your home while you can. The rental market is forcing the landlord to make some changes around here.
Like, I see you. All of B&B is like, yeah, it's coming.
Okay, you should get one. Absolutely gets one. And the others shouldn't push him here. And I like it. Try to force the KP. Can't quite get it. It's B&B who shut down the hopes of Electrolyte. Certainly, though, didn't do it without taking one with him.
In the end, that's a caustic goal, right? It's a moral victory. While he was surrounded for a while, so you got to give it to Electrolyte for finding a good way to survive. I love that victory right there. Pathfinder victory, showing the Christmas spirit and a little bit of cowboy.
What is that? What is he wrangling a reindeer at that point? Like, what is that about?
I don't know.
If you're dressed as Santa and you have that, are you really going for a horse? I feel like reindeers, that's the theme.
That would be the theme, right? Is he like trying to chase down, set up his own sleigh?
But I feel like, have you ever been approached by a reindeer in real life?
No.
I'm
not
too a reindeer, but like, yeah. A male deer once. I actually had the displeasure, the misfortune of kind of walking near a family of deer in a place we used to live around a lake, and I will tell you, I just turned back around because they're not fun. You don't want to get close. Those antlers, they're real. They really are pointy and dangerous and aggressive. So if that's the case, I think B&B, maybe that Pathfinder, says, you know what, Rain, I don't care. I'm down to get near things that are aggressive and pointy. I'm a little more aggressive, and I'm sharper as well. Haven't you seen? We got about 10+ kills and our dominating performance, B&B taking game one.
Well, B&B, it's feeling like they're going to be the ones that try to exploit this. Outsiders, though, did have themselves a pretty solid game as well. Rollers MX was the one that I think that we were kind of surprised by such an early outing for, so we'll have to see if they manage to regroup. But this fight, right at the start, was so brutal. I love that. I wish we could go back and just break down all the different perspectives from having to navigate in and the 4 or 5 different teams that all had to come into that point.
Oni and Electrolyte Symphony were alive for a while, but ultimately we know how that story would end. We'd run into B&B, but not immediately. B&B would have a few side journeys, a few side quests to complete. Boy, oh boy, would they get the gold for them. And all of the specialty items as well. Again, I remarked on this lineup. I like it. I think it works for them. I think we see a lot of Pathfinder in our Master Circuit. And, I wonder, maybe I'll speak a little bit about that in kind of the break here, the time we have in between games. But if it's working for you and this is how you feel comfortable, Matchroom, as simple as it is, that's the lineup you should run, not whatever is meta in your mind.
Yeah, we were talking about that before the game started. This is how you, develop a meta, is you start finding something that feels comfortable for you, finding out ways to make it work better, and, nothing feels good about running into a caustic, but as you try to find these ways and these improvements that work best for you, you might start discovering something that nobody else has discovered, and hey, we got a Pathfinder in the game. Sometimes it pays to be a meta Pathfinder of your own.
Absolutely. Here, look at this. Holy moly. It's a 20 bomb. A 20 bomb. That means a 32-point game. That is insane. I have seen so many great games today, but this is, in terms of points, the best one we've seen.
And it felt comfortable. That's the problem with it, is that B&B, I don't feel like they ever had their game disrupted. They were always the one that was the antagonist in the situation. They were always doing the chase. They knew what was going on, and it felt like they always knew what they were walking into. Even the caustic at the end, they were just staring at him for a few seconds like, we know what's about to happen, but we're coming for you anyway.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you really can't say much to the rest of the lobby except, wow, that was a tough one to go against. I'm not sure that there was much we could have done. All 3 of them, too, you don't see this kind of stark carry between one player where there's this huge support from the others. Each one of them has 5+ kills, and that is the sign of really 3 individually talented players and a sign of something that's not going to be changing very much in terms of their ability to be successful in this lobby. So the other team's going to have to show up if they want to stop this train. Seems like it might have left the station, and they're going to have to catch up.
See, the sign that concerns me is a Pathfinder dynastied, 6 kills, assists, and 6-0. Like, I don't know. 666 Pathfinder dynastied. That scares me a little bit, as well as 32 points on game 1.
That's
My
nuts.
God, Rain Day. I mean, a toaster, we didn't even get a chance to really look at them, and I think the reason why is because your Plug just managed to survive for so long. Placement points are what got him.
Yeah, and so that's the sign. If you look at this lobby, the eliminations are going to be favored towards B&B by a long, long mile. Unless somehow you can get them out of the game early, which you shouldn't count on, I don't think. So what you would do is, really, I would expect to see some teams that rotate zone, try to build up some lineups for Legends. And this hopefully is a plan that you have. Obviously, if it's not what you're excited about, try to rotate early. Try to get into that zone. Allow B&B to do these kind of ring wraparounds and fight people and get their KP, but leave you alone because you're sitting in a building, you're sitting in the right spot, and you're holding it down like iElectrolyte did. And if you can do that, then you are obviously going to have success in at least the placement statistic, and that's going to get you in the money. And then you might be able to have a pop-off kill game, Matrim, but you got to have a plan now that you know how this lobby is probably going to look.
This lobby is looking painful. It's a chase off the get-go. I mean, B&B was, again, pushing teams into other teams already fighting before the first circle even started closing. This is the pace that looks like they're going to be trying to set. And I mean, I think that they're dropping center north, so that should not be too complicated for them to just start enforcing their will on teams around them, as pathing is going to be pretty much wherever they hear gunshots, they can do whatever they want.
I personally think that the biggest thing for me with B&B is I like their lineup, and I wanted to dive in just a bit into why that lineup might be working out for them. Pathfinder is something that we see a lot on PS4 and in the Master Circuit, so it got me wondering, why do we see it more here? Well, if it's girl who's sitting next to me, Matchroom, she just says, well, because Pathfinder's the best, and I love Pathfinder.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
I got that one too.
Cool. All right, well, that's maybe one reason, but it wouldn't explain why we don't see it in some of these other leagues, in some of these other moments. So what about Pathfinder and PS4? What do you get access to that you may not get in other dynamics? And I think it's because the movement of Pathfinder is so unparalleled to any of the other Legends in terms of horizontal mobility and burst mobility. Yes, Horizon can go up, but she can't go up fast, and she can't go far out. She can stay in her location, and she can disrupt your movement. But I just think Pathfinder, especially when I kind of mentioned earlier, alluded to, movement isn't the priority on consoles. Great gun aim, great gun ability, great strategic counterplay is the priority. It isn't tap strafing in that. That's a very hard thing to pull off on a controller. So if a Legend can give you access to movement, then not only isn't even average on this, maybe it's below averagely valued, and you get this above average movement, the discrepancy with which what most people have and what you have is even greater. And I think that really allows Dynasty to do stuff and take angles and get aggressive in ways that people in this lobby aren't expecting. And I also feel like that's why the value is there over the Bloodhound pick, particularly in terms of what they are choosing to do in B&B. So just food for thought there. I don't know if you have any response to that, but that's how my brain is working. I think that might be why we're seeing so much success come from Pathfinder players here.
I think so. I think that you hit it, specifically the capabilities that Pathfinder has to get into flank positions, to cut off pathing, or just provide supplementary angles, I think is something that we're really seeing B&B exploit. You mentioned the fact that it is a very I can handle myself style of comp that they're running, and so with this, just getting into a position that can support the other twos that can potentially 1v2, that just means the fact that you're just taking complete control over the game, and it's obvious. B&B is just asserting authority into this one as they are dropping. Nobody is coming to core with them this time, but we do have to the southwest of their position that two teams that are dropping next to each other. We'll have to see how B&B decides that they want to do this one, as Circle does pop on them, and they have a chance to open up a B&B of their own and just kind of sit, chill, enjoy bed and breakfast.
When's the last time you went to a B&B, Match?
I've never been to one.
You've never been to one?
Never been to one.
Well, if you ever make your way out to Santa Barbara, there is a lovely one, and it's called the Inn on Summer Hill. And I haven't been to a lot of B&Bs, but I will tell you that when one does it right, it's a nice experience. That is one. So you get some free promo in on Summer Hill for being such a great spot. I often think of it when I have a chance. But yeah, I think, B&B going back to what they're trying to set up, they want you to feel comfortable like you would outside a game. But in game, they want you to think, you're fine where you are. You're on the outskirts. Yeah, you're not even near the zone. And then bam, here we are. Yeah, we've pushed you. Yeah, we're not even close to zone either. We don't want to be. We want the KP that is all around us. Last game, they killed 33% of the lobby. They killed more than that because we don't have 20 teams. They got, it was an incredible performance from them. So they will be hunting. There's no doubt about it.
I'm just curious. I always love to watch how a team reacts whenever the circle pops on them because it's a different behavior, right? Like what you're talking about. You still want to get the KP, but you already know where all the strong points are. So seeing the difference in that is huge. As Toaster now getting some airborne angles into what's going to be going on. I believe it's Copium on the other side of this one. As your Plug's Plug, who had a star performance for their squad and finding a way to survive for oh so long, is going to be finding himself jumping right into the thick of it. Infamous Sniper already down, so got to be careful with this one, as this is a peculiar section to be holding down a fight, but good spray is still coming up from your Plug's Plug as the smoke's putting in some work, but not quite enough for Copium as they are very low. No shields up, but it's just health hit on both sides. Nobody quite going down as finally Jay does.
Toaster on the top. Lily Ray, I believe right next to your Plug's Plug. Using that double time Bangalore passive to just avoid a few of the bullets. Your Plug's Plug responds with 42 in kind. It's enough to get White Shinigami down, but the team is still a threat. And looking to do some scouting there as well. The Newcastle up above. Lily Tay and your Plug's Plug just need to slow this down. That gives them the advantage. 2 people healing over 1 person healing. You're doubling the impact of that heal. And now they're going to make it clear. They've got armor swaps. They've got banners. And Zenjay knows this isn't a fight that is going to go in his favor the longer that this fight continues. So a zip rail, and I'll see you later.
Again, more use of the zip rails coming out. Should be able to get up to north. Looks like going to be making a play to a Breaker Wharf, which is pretty much inside a circle here as well. B&B, where is their strategy going to take them? They were in the center of the circle. You could say that they were at the core of the circle. But nope, they're going to cut their way over to the east where 2 different teams they hear the gunshots of, and that means the fact that they are now hungry. They've had first dinner, but what about second dinner, as they are now going to be on the chase for more and more tasty, tasty KP.
B&B. Looking...
They just stalk people. Look at this thing.
Yeah, for the moment. 2 shots away. Plenty of ammo for a Wope. They just don't feel deadly. They don't feel like they're doing much. You could tell that the aggression is here, but you keep wondering, are they pushing? Are they pushing? Yes, we're pushing. We're here. And it just happens like that. They don't miss a bullet. Here's that Mirage who was giving outsiders a hard time. Not going to be too hard for a Wope in 1 magazine again. 2 magazines, 2 kills. That's how you do it.
Neighbors down because it's not easy being neighbors with B&B in positioning. So right now there are 2 teams inside of the circle, and B&B is one of them. And Dry Gulch, where we saw that fight just a second ago over to the west, that's going to be the other one. The south has got a lot that could be going on, as we do have Goku Black, as well as a stack that's going on just to the east. Remember how B&B ran into this point over at Stasis?
Yep.
Well, they forced 2 different teams to go to the east, and that's now the fight that we're jumping into right now.
Fat Rips TTV, full with a blue shield, 175 health, absolute no love. Needs to get a medkit though. Fat, the shield battery will gain an extra 25. If he can hit this, and I think he's got enough time. That will be a Bloodhound scan on the other side of things, so Roller's in next. Same lineup, including the Bloodhound, opting for the Seer instead of the Bangalore, so... With that, though, Mimo Kusai will find great use of the car and get a shield swap much faster there. The Hydra's in trouble yet again. Goku Black feeling it, and it goes down. B&B, do they eliminate Hydras too? They do. My goodness. So already off to a really strong start.
Just don't go in the circle. It's just safer to not go in the circle. Fight the ring instead, because B&B is just... using these rails. They are everywhere. So they have now have a team that would dropped over in Dry Gulch that we saw earlier. It's going to be Infinite Sniper as well as Leroy a second ago. They have now moved into the core, and they're going to get control over that. But it's B&B that are continuing to force teams more and more over to this eastern area. They just know where people are going to be pathing, and that's one of the things we haven't had a chance to really talk about with this map. If you understand how to assault choke points, and you understand where teams are probably going to be trying to defend up, to play edge, and you get the inside of the circle like B&B is, you can see that they're just moving to the next place that somebody is going to be trying to gatekeep at, pick up the kills between the fights that are going to be happening there, and then move to the next. They just get the map, and they understand where to go next for the next big firefight to pick up more KP. And look, they're going to be rewarded with it yet again.
Yeah, the zone looking to move forward into either the core. This is that moment. Round one closing. It's kind of surprising. It feels like a northwest zone is not something we often see. But it very well could be. Could pull down, though, towards Promenade, so stayed more central to the map. We've seen a zone near Production Yard and Dry Gulch a little bit earlier today. We haven't seen one all the way up north, though, and it looks like it may just end up pulling that way. So more rotations having to happen now, Matchroom. 6 at least teams on that eastern side going to have to make a move west.
In the thick of it, B&B. TPK has managed to reset down to the south, but it's all about the B&B fight. Good spray to open it off. Near on no damage coming out. Dynasty taking some, but he's just going to go ahead and make a pop over to purple. Now they're making the push into this. Sure, it's hard to assault, but look, it's not even like it's hurting them that bad. The issue with it is there's not a lot of breach that's going to be happening just quite yet. Finally, now finding the opportunity, does step into that one. Quick spray is just going to go ahead and step around the shield. Is where do you go? It's just full on hunted. No reses to be had. Just the door still trying to be closed. That's still not going to be enough as teams are going to be coming back in behind him. It doesn't matter. Finally, now starting to take some damage. It's going to be Dynasty that's going down. ADP is also being caught, and it was too much. Too many teams jumped in, and by their powers combined, Rollers MX does manage to take down B&B.
It is incredible for this lobby. Rollers MX decide to take on the challenge, and they come out on top. B&B, after winning game one, go down to a team that has been proving and needing to prove that they have a chance to tie them for first and to take today. Rollers MX do it, and everything else opens up. Not just Mimokusai, Mercenary, and Dananino's hopes, but the entire lobby have a chance now with the leaders by far after a 32-point game out in 10th place.
We have several fights that are starting to brew just north of where we saw this going on. There's the capabilities for a fight around Alpha Base, but really it's closer to Dry Gulch, where there's the capabilities to fight as outsiders, realizing what's going to be going on. They have the capabilities to pick up some kills of their own. They're just going to go ahead and go for the high ground off the go on this one. This is going to be controlled for pretty much the entirety of the circle. Whoever wins this is going to have an easy pathing into it. So now, trying to make sure that they get the most out of it. Black Mama's taking a lot of damage and is going to go down. Can they get over to try to protect him? Shots are going to connect and do manage to get the down before Black Mama does get flushed. Now can they get the res? And it does look like they're going to be able to pick this one up pretty clean, as I think it's young Jerry Lennon going to have to move away from it, and Steezy's going to go ahead and get flushed out. Yep, it's going to be outsiders with control of the south.
Black Mamba, Dinosaur Venom, and Packers. Good showcase there of their play, and seeing a few zip lines used, zip rails used, and seeing a few more. Obviously, the negative possibility is getting an easy shot, making yourself an easy target for multiple teams. But the mobility is there, and this map is meant to have it utilized for their rotation style. So I'm glad that we're starting to see it again and again and again. You can see also maybe the desperation, these teams having to move a little farther. And on the run, they might just need the zip rails in order to buy themselves some time on these rotations.
Oni's being... this is the fight. We have 3 different teams that are kind of dancing around each other right now. Ring is going to be coming in, and this is a pretty far run. I mean, this is from one section of the map all the way over to the far west quadrant from where we're at the time. And it's an earlier circle, but you can see it's already hitting pretty hard. So I'm going to go ahead and make the Oni jump over what's going to be happening here. I think this should buy them pretty much space to go over KOF. And I don't... Yep, they realized the pathing that they were going to take and instead go around to the north. I do like this, as it's just going to be your plug's plug, the last one up for the squad that could be coming in back behind.
Sliding in. Electrolyte has a lot to play for after a second place finish. Really, really good. use of just 2 players, now have 3. I had mentioned it. Sometimes that first game, they can't get in there. I don't know what it is, Matchroom, but you see it. Now they're a full 3. It just tends to happen in these tournaments, these wild cards, for whatever reason. Traffic, I don't know. Maybe some people are taking some weekend college classes. Or maybe they just wanted a little bit more time at the beach. That might have been my answer. Coming from San Diego.
Whenever we're looking at the console development, it's hard to be a full pro-time player just off of what's going on inside this. So I'm never going to fault anybody at these tournaments for having to get some of their life into it. And I know that's not what you were doing either. You were also just saying the fact that it just takes a second sometimes. Somebody's got to get off of work, or I mean, with the scheduling, sometimes you just don't really get a chance to say, okay, well, we need to qualify for this event, so we need to play this event and get time off and give the 2 weeks that you need to be able to get the day off.
Well, you know what's great? And what's great about it is the 2 players show up and they make an impact. You have a game like game 1, you get yourself like, hey, with 2, we got second. With 3, could we win this thing? And this is exactly where Electrolyte made a lot happen. It was a really good Caustic ult. This is the second quality Caustic ult I've seen. That is the second quality PK pump I've seen too. But they lose Symphony. Now it's Fluffy Octobird and Electrolyte who are going to have to get in this building and hold ground. Ooh, a nice little shield battery there also. You can see damage coming up from the top staircase, but they can keep shifting and hold even tighter angles. It's Rollers MX on the other side trying to siege into the building, but that peak could be costly. 36, it's not too much, but it's enough. And onto the same player. Oh, it's an 8. Oh, you hate to see it.
Oh.
You hate to see it, and when you 8 and you hate to see it, you get 8 by the pressure Rollers MX create. And I think that will add their 8th kill, actually, with 8 squads left in our second game here on Broken Moon.
Okay, well, it's starting to settle out over into the east, so it's time to jump over into the west. TPK going to go ahead and make a jump around, and with 2 teams sandwiching in onto them, and one of them being B&B, no surprise that they're going to go ahead and cut over here, but looks like they might bump into young Jerry Lennon, as he's going to be coming in similar pathing. Land actually pretty much right in front of them, so TPK is going to come over and play this edge, and MX Rollers might be pathing into this angle as well. So, Jerry Lennon, your life is about to suck as 2 different 3-man squads are crashing right on top of you.
So maybe it just means going to be a little bit more focused at the office today than usual, knowing that there are some people vying for a spot line for the position. TPK taking some damage. Nightmare pushing back into Dry Gulch outside the edge of the zone.
I do also want to point out your Plugs Plug and Lily Tay are going to be coming in on a similar path right behind this. So with we see TPK stepping away, trying to get away from this, it's going to be MX Rollers now trying to see if they can force this. But MX Rollers might be putting themselves into a pinch position. If we ever see TPK decide to stop, that's going to be the moment that Toaster can come up right back behind them and do a massive amount of work, as everybody has now got a pathing into this eastern part of the circle. But TPK, I don't think they're going to stop. They're just trying to get out of this one. They're going to end up next to Jay-Sean, and there's no safety to be had.
That does seem to be the case here. No safety to be had sometimes is the way it is. And you can't always guarantee what you're going to run into. But you just have to be adaptable. I love where we see... I think this is Outsiders' position. They are right in zone. And, I mean, this is, again, another huge swing. Everyone kind of bets on the southern side of the circle near Dry Gulch, and then it ends up going to the west. The one building that's being held, though, you know, Black Mamba, Packers, should be Dinosaur Venom over there from the Outsiders, playing this one safe.
And then we've got the Metal Gears getting involved and taking some shots into what's going on with our Eastern Crews. TPK is going to get eliminated. Then we've got MX Rollers and Toaster. Remember, Toaster's coming in with just 2. Outsiders getting some vision and hearing what's happening, but they've pretty much got the entirety of the circle. They don't have good vision on what's happening inside this fight, just due to the fact that the hillside and how it lays. Outsiders do have 2 solos that are playing to the northeast of their position, but this is really the hinge point in what's happening right now, as Leite just trying to survive, and we still have the Metal Gears on the other side of this to the west that are trying to take some shots, but you do have to give it to a Toaster. They find ways to sneak past these spots and get into the circle more often than not. I mean, that's kind of what Plugs managed to do to get some placement points several times.
Rollers MX also on a mission to have that bounce back game. They know that the first punch was thrown by B&B. It connected, a 32-point game, which, to put into perspective, I think last entire tournament that we had this morning, 60 points was about the win. And the rule is typically 10 points per game. If you can times that by 3 plus in game 1, you're off to a great start. So Rollers MX know they've got a challenge to keep pace. Currently sitting on 8 kills. First place would net them 20 points right now. So looking for more kills. Still 5 squads left, though. So plenty of people around to get it. They've just got to hit their shots.
Coming in, they've got the opportunity with it. The problem is they're starting to draw a lot of attention with this chase. They also have the solos that are starting to make their eyes into this direction. So the Starro is now also along a similar area. Zinjay is going to be back behind him. With this, Metal Gears are also moving to the south. So while MX Rollers is inside the circle and they have managed to kind of shoo the problems away from them, they've now got a new set of problems, whereas they were chasing 2 a second ago. They are now kind of surrounded. And they have got to be careful. Zinjay also has to be pretty careful with this. Yep, one of the solos at least going to get spotted out, but I think that Copium's last one might be safe.
Yeah, very well could be. Outsiders still in a good position going in for that second place. It's going to pull just north of that building, though, so now it's going to benefit your Plug and squad to be able to go into the high ground, but they are fighting on an uphill battle. The 30-30 repeater connects from Imokusai, and that actually gives them a great opening to push forward. He's working on 2K damage. He's about to get it with 2 more shots, and he just isn't missing, is he? With that beautiful 30-30, even through the smoke, almost finds one, and that's 9 kills now for Rollers MX. 3 squads left, looking to take home a dub here.
Nuclear catastrophe averted as the Metal Gears are taken down. Meanwhile, Rollers MX have found themselves outside the circle trying to push into the outsiders, but a Toaster is now going to get free pathing into the north of this. That's going to get them in good position as these 2 3-man squads are still lined up pretty close to each other. MX Rollers, the odd man out, though, and have to find some pathing with this. Packers have been playing to the south just for outsiders to see if maybe they can get some control. Instead, this rock cropping is going to cause its own issue, and it looks like he's going to regroup. So, MX Rollers, how do you want to approach in as you are going to get inside the circle? Means that Toaster might get some vision, and most notably, Lilite, who's going to find a pretty sneaky angle on the northern part of this.
Yeah, and this is smart from outsiders. Their position won them this game. If you consider the fact that this should be a situation, if these 2 start fighting, where outsiders should come in, clean up, they're ready for it. Dinosaur Venom dropped from the highest ledge down to the second ledge. It's really going to be up to your Plug to pull something off spectacularly, or Rollers MX to kind of bait out this concept that we're fighting, and then not fully commit to that fight. Maybe just slow it down a little bit, Matchroom, and then allow outsiders to get more aggressive. And that's actually what's happening. Outsiders now risking having a shot at one of the other teams, your Plug and Lilite, in terms of a fight, and giving Rollers MX a chance to third-party them.
This is kind of precarious. Whenever we see Dinosaur Venom's positioning, he can regroup with his teammates, but they're pretty far back, and so now Dinosaur Venom actually has 2 that are going to be to his northwest and a full squad that are going to be in front of him. If we see Toaster go for any peeks here, they could be able to spot him out. Dinosaur Venom is going to have to be ready to run at any given second. Looks like now finally reinforcements are going to be coming in. Black Mama and Packers realize with the nades coming out, some support is going to have to happen here. So get reset, but it's going to be MX Rollers now using that opportunity to step more into the south, more into the control. Toaster's just still playing pretty passive, and that might come back to bite them in a second.
Really, really tough gen there as well, because I think that just gave too much room for Mimokusai and Rollers MX to be able to destroy it. A Toaster here, because they're 2, are the team that's not really being prioritized in terms of fighting, and that could come back to haunt both squads here. Rollers MX and Dinosaur Venom as well as the squad. Black Mamba, Packers holding down the eastern side of this circle. Your Plug just firing away on the flat line. The Dark Veil is up too.
Oh,
but 104 damage just that fast. Dinosaur Venom does have to be careful. It's 15 seconds now. This thing is going to start to move, and these teams will have to approach each other. And so someone has to decide, are we going to take matters into our own hands and start this fight? Or are we going to let someone start it for us?
Nobody wants to move. The game of chicken is real right now. Rollers MX, you can see everybody's taking that second, trying to get their shields back in, and this is starting to be bad for it. Now on one side of this, outsiders finding themselves in some trouble. Rollers MX getting their shields prepped, and together gets some vision over the top and does manage to get the flush on a Black Mamba. That means Rollers MX has the numbers advantage over both squads, and now outsiders have got to play it more casual. But with this, MX Rollers making an aggressive play into the center of it means the fact that they could find themselves sandwiched.
Really tough spot But now you're right. It is basically an even match. In fact, I think things lean towards Rollers MX and then a Toaster, and then going all the way over to Outsiders, because what are they going to do? They've lost the Catalyst and they've lost Dinosaur Venom. Packers just going to rotate over to Lilite and your Plugs Plug. Does this mean they're going to have to push themselves in? It's possible. Could be a brilliant moment. No, that just is going to go over to Himoku Sai and squad. It should be a Rollers MX victory. We said they needed it. They got it. Oh my goodness. That might have just been a 15, 14 kill game. They're trying to keep pace with the top, and they have.
That was a very tossed up in-game. It was fun to watch. There was a lot of strategy coming out. Both teams kind of pushing against each other to find some like weak point in the armor to try to exploit. And it is going to be MX Rollers that found it, used it, and then propelled themselves into victory with it. Once that knock came into play, once they secured the flush on it, it was KO. This game is ours.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal showcase for Rollers MX. It was a good, also, I think, final circle. I like the way that both of those teams had different win conditions and different strategies to it. I think maybe Outsiders had the best position and played it the worst. I think Rollers MX had a pretty strong spot, being the team with nobody, with both teams in front of them without clearly being in the middle of attention, and so they can kind of ride up that hill. No one wanted to take their spot, for instance. Let's put it that way. And I think that actually benefited them quite a bit, that they did not have the priority position, and so people didn't pay attention to them. They could kind of just stay on that low ground. But it wouldn't have mattered if B&B had continued doing what they did here. But they went out early, and that was the big story that allowed it to happen here in Game 2.
I mean, everybody trying to exploit that situation. I can understand what Outsiders was trying to do, where they had Dinosaur Venom play forward, then come back in. They were trying to get control over that rock cropping so that way they'd have a pathing for the later stages of the game, but just peaked at the wrong time. Like, I understand the mindset. I don't know what the proper thing to do is at that point whenever you have like a triangle defense that you're trying to hold up against, but it just getting knocked at the absolute worst moment is what turned that game on its head, regardless of how you look at it. Now, B&B also going down with two different teams jumping on them might set a new type of trend. And could we see B&B pump the brakes a little bit, or you think it's still going to be pedal to the metal, KP everywhere they can go?
Yeah, I think this will give them pause, and as any good player or talented person should. You know, a lot of people who, I don't even want to get this wrong, so I'm not even going to go into it, but there's benefit in being a very talented, really overachieving team and then getting some feedback, because sometimes you feel you shouldn't get feedback. Like, who are you to criticize B&B doing so well? I mean, they're already at the top. They got a 32-point game. What do you have to say? Well, now it's like, hey, guys, we're not invincible, right? We had a 32-kill game, but we did everything right during that game. It felt like we weren't thinking, but we were still. So we have to be careful we don't put ourselves in too tough a situation, because Rollers MX, if we go out of this lobby, Rollers MX is going to do this, Matrim, and look at that. That is a 32-point game. Did they just do it again? Is that no?
Yeah,
that's a 20 bomb. They tied it. Holy moly!
Look at those damage numbers too. My God, that is what, 7,500 damage between them. That is astounding, especially considering the shot accuracy. This is an MX Rollers game. Whenever they decided to take it, they took it. Is no respawns, no rewrites, no nothing. You just had to fight your way through it the entirety of the way, and they did. And now the question comes into play is it enough momentum? Do they have the vibe to them? Do they have the groove? Because B&B going down was the opportunity, but now can they handle if B&B doesn't go down?
Last game, though, B&B only got 1 point, and Rollers MX got 32. If that's the case, Rollers MX should be ahead, because I know they didn't get 1 point in game number 1.
That would mean they went up pretty early.
Then it's very close to being tied. It certainly would mean that with 33 points and with them just getting 32, I would say chances are in the favor of Rollers MX of being in the lead here. But we'll have to wait for those standings. I know we're all here anticipating. And there it is. Oh my goodness. So look, here it is. Because of some of the KP that they got earlier on, and I guess the lack thereof from Rollers MX, only got 1 point. Now they got 33, and B&B have 36. It is close at the top, but look at this, a Toaster, your Plugs Plug, Lilite. You had talked about a matchup. They're hanging in there.
Placement points, man. They ain't getting the eliminations, but they are fighting their way through by finding a way to be sneaky to get into it. Outsiders, I feel bad for it. They've been playing very well. They just can't get the kills, man. They're in the right spot. They're playing position well. That last time, yeah, they were a little too aggressive maybe, but they were also trying to take control. I like the fact that I like the mindset of what they were trying to do. It just didn't work for them. I think that's one of those things that I want them to continue to see the aggression, because you can see it's their eliminations is the problem. Try to find a way to make that aggression work for you, because if they can do that, this lobby could be theirs.
One thing I like about how we showcase in this tournament specifically, the Master Circuit wildcards, is that we show how many points overall they get from placement and how many from elims, and it starts to paint a picture. Typically, we see what the overall standings are, and then we also see what the standings are for the individual game. So you get 12, 9, 7, 5, you get those numbers, but you don't get, hey, out of the 40 points that we've done, 28, 32 are placement, 8 are kills. That starts to say, okay, this is how this team likes to play this game. This is how this team thrives. And you can start to see the characterization of what they've decided to do in the numbers of what they plan on, specializing in these games. Great stuff from our team, our broadcast team, our production team of putting that together, and also helps us do a great job of storytelling. There's more to go, though, Matcham. We're barely halfway through, almost. Yeah. We've got one more game coming up before we do that, and we've got Game 5 to finish it all off after Game 3, 4 come up here shortly, but we're going to take a quick break before we get into it. I want to make sure you guys know compete.playstation.com is where these players signed up. It's how they got involved, and it's how you can get involved in our schedule of upcoming broadcasts or to compete in broadcasts like this for all of your PlayStation tournament needs. Go ahead to compete.playstation.com and make sure to understand when we're going live. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, games 3 and 4, those are important. We'll see who shows up and who disappears after this.
PlayStation.
Welcome back to PlayStation Tournaments, everybody. My name is Rain Day here after the break, joined by Matchroom. We're so excited to talk about what will occur. Matchroom, after 2 games, a lot's unfolded.
Yeah, we've been seeing some, I guess, lopsided tournaments that have happened as we've been moving through this in EU and North America back and forth across a couple of events. This time, not the case. We're going to have the capabilities for a 2-horse race, at least for now, as we can see that we've got some stiff competition that's starting to kick off in this, and I don't even think that we can count out anybody as seeing B&B and Rollers MX both have a bad game and both have a phenomenal game means the fact that I don't think that we're seeing consistency yet, so there are still opportunities for other teams.
I described it as a heavyweight fight, and the first blow had been dealt and it had landed. That was by B&B. Flash forward to game 2, B&B go out early with barely but a point. Rollers MX sitting on a point before that moment end up dropping the exact same response. 32 points there. Now there are only 3 points separating them at the top. A Toaster, Outsider, and Metal Gears have stayed within the mix. A Toaster being the one closest to getting into that top 2, but it is certainly a tale of 2 games. Matchroom for the 3rd game. What do we expect here?
Oh, I think that we need to see some more solo activity inside of this. We've seen both squads just get wiped entirely early. We need somebody to find a way to salvage a bad situation, or hopefully never get into that stage. I would love to see these 2 squads duke it out for the win, being number 1, number 2 next time, and keep this competitive. But that said, one of the key factors is that last game, we didn't really see any solos manage to find a way to sneak into that circle. Sure, it was a pretty barren circle, but it was very controlled for a very long period of time. So I'm kind of curious to see if we're going to see people try to keep up the PPG a little bit more, or maybe try to abandon a firefight so that way they don't end up with another 1 or 2 point game.
Well, all these questions, I mean, great to raise. And also, there's only so much we could do as we head into game 3. The players have to show up. You said salvage a bad game. That's what these 2 teams have to figure out at the top. For the teams at the bottom, it's put together a game that will impact them for the rest of this tournament. In game 3, what a time to start. We're nearing being at the halfway mark of this with only 5 games to play on the day in North America to decide who will go into our finals in January. Good time to show up. Moon in the distance. What a beautiful setting. It's going to be the setting of hopefully a beautiful win if that's your team loading into the lobby as they are right now.
I want to follow up with what you were talking about a second ago. I think that sometimes in Apex we have a tendency to look at those really big flashy games, but I've always found that heralds to being a phenomenal team is the capabilities to figure out how to make the best of a bad situation, to keep those points per game up and a bad point. We can all think of those times that inside of a tournament somebody won because they had a solo that somehow managed to get into 2nd place even though the other members died. That's how you end up winning a tournament overall. Lots of good aim, and people get the circle sometimes. Those things can happen. Figuring out how to do something whenever everything has gone wrong is the mark of an amazing team, in my opinion. And now there's an opportunity for 2 teams to showcase that they do have that.
I love the points you made there. Outsiders, maybe a team that has a lot to prove in terms of Black Mamba Packers and Dinosaur Venom. The strength, getting into good positions. Weakness right now, maybe finishing off some fights we feel they could have won or had a better chance at by making fewer mistakes in the beginning. And maybe that mistake is that they're letting the game come to them a little bit more. But still, we do notice that when it comes to a game coming to you and you're running a defensive lineup, that's kind of the nature of it, right, Matchroom? You can't necessarily play a Gibraltar Caustic and then get aggressive on people. Same thing with a Watson and a Catalyst. You have to balance out being in a good position, but also letting people fall into the defensive utility that you've prioritized as you've picked those legends.
And it's really hard, especially in that last circle with that giant, I don't even know, it's like a pillar of rock. You don't even want to call it a hill or a cliff or anything. It's just a straight up circle of rock that sticks up out of the ground and takes up a huge section of it. That denies a lot of sight lines and allows rotation for teams. Hey, we're getting another northwestern circle. As the trend might continue to go this direction, is Core going to be due up in center again, and that means that B&B going to be in the center, but not going to stay there for long.
Yeah, it looks like a very similar circle. It is a little more north, so some of that area of the water that is kind of unplayable on the very north side is included into this one. Very excited to see what will happen. On the top-down view of the map, though, you can see the teams all spread out. Eternal Gardens being shared, at least for now. And now seems like that squad, Electrolyte, rolling over to the Atmos. And they will meet another squad as they are on a kind of a roaming loot path right now.
Yeah, I think they got kicked out of Eternal Gardens and now have been forced to kind of play down next to, I believe it's Divide. I always forget the name of that place down there. Yeah, Divide. And so it's a complex area to see a firefight break out from. So the benefit, though, is DDK only playing with 2 members. So Electrolyte and team up to the north of that. We'll have to see if what they can do is there is, I think, some looting that can be had up there, but it's not comfortable in the slightest. This is a situation that could be problematic for both of these guys. Actually, Oni only has 2 as well, so the only fair fight potential that these 2 squads might be able to see is going to be in the early game.
Yeah, clear it out, okay? Let the 2s fight each other. That's the only way to do this appropriately, all right? Everything else, you're taking advantage of them. Rollers MX, they might be responding to that. Well, you know what? We have an advantage. We're going to use it. We're fighting a bigger battle against a team called BNB, and we don't need to give them anything that we're not going to take ourselves. Dananino on the blue loses a few, has to shield cell. It means Mimo Kusai drops down and tries to handle business, or at least buy some time. 30-30 shots, whiffing. It wasn't last game, and so he'll still feel confident in that. Plus, with the 3 times, he'll be ready to go. Thermite, not only stopping him from moving, but blocking some vision, too, and that's an exhibit out. Seer's ultimate coming out very early. You can see 74% still on horizon, so if that doesn't give you an indication on how fast that comes out, having a Seer will really slow the tempo of some of your fights or help you to move forward because of how fast that happens early game.
How are they wanting to navigate this? They have a pretty good idea on what the positioning is. They don't want to overextend too early just quite yet, so keep an eye on it. Looks like they're wanting to go for a more vertical approach into this, and that is always a good idea into it. Now, the exchange over here is pretty far away from the circle, so this fight does need to end pretty quickly as there's a full firefight that's already happening on where they're probably going to have to fight their way through, so the gate kept position already has 3 teams inside of it, and even if they go to the north, another one. So both these teams realizing the longer they stay here, the more and more problematic it is going to get for them and lead to a mutually assured destruction stage. So shots now going to start coming out between the 2 of them. No clear signs of victory yet, but both teams trying to find some way to make this happen and just cannot find the angles for it. Finally getting some connecting shots in.
Good stuff from Mercenary, who responds on the car. Now has to get it done with the R301. He's going to do some damage, but there's still one more. And they know it. Not anymore. Milk Bros will fall. Rollers MX. Nice cleanup there. And it was an important fight for them. If they would have lost that, say goodbye to BNB in the standings. They certainly would have padded their current lead. Ooh, as I say it, BNB taking a risky early fight too. So both teams saying the only way to go is through.
It's not done.
We cannot hide back.
I think 2 teams saw that fight and might be trying to push into it. Meanwhile, this is what's going on down at Divide. Remember our 2-2 fight? It's popping off everywhere right now. So throwables coming out on one side of it. There is a vertical approach that Oni can try to use, but you can see they're so weak. Both Oni had to make that reposition away from Eternal Gardens down into the Divide, so they have nothing to work with, but a good spray is going to open up. Doesn't matter if it's purples, if you take that much damage. And now Oni, they're going to have one of their members go down. Is the economy going to be enough? Electrolyte trying to make it happen, but Oni is going to go down.
And that is crazy. I cannot believe it. I would have put money on Electrolyte being able to hold down a building and being caustic, but having the lack of shielding, having the lack of understanding where that player was coming from, and having been not set up yet as the caustic wasn't allowing him to play to his strengths soon enough. The Valkyrie's mobility and pace, quickness of getting up there and into the fight proved to be the difference at that time against the caustic, who typically would have had a 1v1 advantage in my eyes in a building like that. Well done to go ahead and win that fight, even as a duo.
Yeah. Again, the fair up fight finally going over to them is high precision. You can see finding themselves a lot of friends, but not in a very comfortable way. As this is that area that's going to be just on the other side of Core where we saw BNB. They look like they heard the BNB firefight and were wanting to get involved into it, but BNB, they will breach this. If they think that they have an opportunity, they've got blue shields, but you can see they're trying to see what's the weak point. How did they approach this? Where is the defense the weakest at? And they haven't quite found it yet, but you do have to be careful. There are a couple of little sneaky angles that can be played around here, and B&B cannot stay for too long because that is always a death knell to stay in a fight for more than probably 30, 45 seconds.
They're trying to find angles, and they do. I mean, this is actually not the same team. This is neighbors who, like a good neighbor, make themselves appear right there. But look at this. B&B said, okay, neighbors coming on the low ground. We will take the high ground, and we'll even take your shield. Early KP for them, and now it has been breached. The Chaos has allowed them to find it. Mirage who? There was no decoy there. He's felt every single bullet. He's probably going back, looking at the character's skill description, saying, hey, I thought this was supposed to make me disappear or be harder to hit. Doesn't look like it worked to ADMP.
That was just a face full of bullets, and B&B getting a second to go ahead and reset as building control looks like it's going over to them. The approach going to have to be going down to the low ground. Throwables again going to come out. Looks like they are getting some hit markers. That could be the go sign for it. Playing it safe, feeding the information over teammates, and now there's the jump. I like the stall inside of this one. Look at how clean that fight turned into so quickly. Sure, it's not done yet, but B&B just took that and decimated that defense.
Oh, and trying to cut him off. I mean, it really was great because there's several things that happen in a fight, and sometimes the distraction, just taking that little bit of tension, causing the hesitation, that's what really ends up being the difference in the first shot, the second shot. And if you shoot first and you hit first, you tend to win those engagements unless you play them wrong. Right now, though, you see the Catalyst. That means there's only 2 teams here running Catalyst, as we have seen. And yes, it's Goku Black. Not on a toaster, but inside that corridor who is running it. A toaster here, though, sitting in 3rd place. Done well with placements. Haven't done amazing in terms of getting the kills, Matchroom, but right now, your Plug's Plug and Infamous Sniper and Lily Tate trying to make it out alive. Already Plug's Plug is down. They may have to wait to get the banner in order to try to come back up as a 3.
I think that they were just trying to get past what was going on over here is they are being hunted down from behind. Good shot is going to buy them some potential space in it, but is it going to be enough as they are managing to hop on the ropes, try to get away? And yes, I believe that TRK is not going to chase after this one. B&B left the compound that they had control over, and they shifted to the south. So a toaster does get into the safe zone. Issue is they're one of the 2 teams that are in there, and they're pathing into the only other one that's kind of inside the circle.
B&B. It makes me want to keep singing. Like, I feel like I'm saying TNT, and I want to follow it up with the dynamite. I want to do it every time because it's so appropriate too, with how well they're playing.
I mean, this is them leaving again the safe zone to go ahead and try to take some more, try and take some fights. I believe Toaster has actually shifted back. As we can see, TRK did get ahead of them, so the pathing they wanted to take. So poor Toaster is now going to retreat to the choke point that they just ran through, lost one of their teammates. They did manage to pick up Plug's Plug Beacon, but that's going to be at roughly the same time that B&B is going to be trying to extricate from their building. So, here we go. Toaster's going to have to wrap to the north, and I think that they have their sights set on maybe getting res, but B&B has their sights set on a Toaster.
B can be ready to push forward here in the second zone. They're, like you mentioned, eyes on fighting. And in this pace right now, this is tough. This is going to be tough to compete with. Already 8 kills at the very least. Yeah. ADMP having 3 assists, 5 to his own. That's part of what the mystery and I think the legend of this team is about. Such talented individual players. You know, Fake Preds, when they're in this lobby too, they make a difference. They really help to keep B&B on their toes and challenge them. They have no problem fighting these guys. CPT, another team that does well, even though they've been less aggressive and less present in this season of our Master Circuit. But B&B are just they're just 3 Predator level players who mesh well, and that's always going to be hard to lose. To fight whenever they're getting ongoing. And B&B right here, this is exactly where they want to be, Matchroom. Outside of a fight, ready to push in.
3 other teams involved. Already Weekend just walks in, gets a beautiful spray to start it. Seeing the fact that there's more KP to be had there. Teasing it a little bit. No, not going to give it to us, but that's going to be Rollers. MX eliminated. And B&B is going to feel good about that one because that means the leaderboard is opening up and they have a chance to get some separation away from it.
AMP with the car, switches straight to the R301 and up onto the gravity lift. Buy time for the reloads. Also buy time for the car. He gets joined up there. Misses the full magazine. Won't drop down as well because the piercing spikes will cause a lot of damage. 15 per tick and slow as well. Not easy to win a fight after you get hit by that. But baiting out the res. Baiting out the rush through the fences. He doesn't need to go in there. The damage is being done. The Watson aggresses. And is this Dinosaur Venom and Packers? That might be it. Yes, it was Outsiders who AD&P and the rest of B&B clean up. It felt like it was the AD&P show. But Awope and Dynasty were doing some work themselves in there.
And the circle pops, and lo and behold, it goes to B&B as they are getting some blessings from RNGesus. Issue now is that all those teams, remember that we just saw get the res a second ago, Metal Gear is trying to sneak their way through. It's going to be Jay-Sean Jack yet again. I think he's found himself a pathing to get by B&B, and that's all he really wants to do. Find some safety. He is now the second team to be inside the circle, as the other two needing to come in from the east, and there's good old young Jerry Lennon and his crew down to the south as they're going to find some pathing, as they're in no rush to come into the circle at all.
That's right. Jay-Sean Jack, the solo survivor. It's got an action hero kind of name, Jay-Sean Jack.
It really does. It's like an 80s movie. Like, I would easily expect Arnold Schwarzenegger to play Jay-Sean Jack.
To play Jay-Sean Jack in the Rat. The Ratinator in Apex Legends. Who can hide longer? Well, that was close.
B&B trying to exploit these rails is... Oh, man. I think it's a
got
toaster
him.
that's
They got
trying to
one.
get by. Yeah. Just going to chase them down now. This is them hurting them on the outside of it. But remember our duo from the Divide earlier? They're still alive, and they're going to be coming in from the east back behind all of this. But B&B, it's just, again, it's like sharks that sniff blood in the water and just don't know how to stop until you are dead and you are their meat.
But you know who they haven't killed yet?
Jay-Sean Jack.
Jay-Sean Jack. That's
in
right.
a world.
In a world.
Where everybody's out to get him.
Get 32 points in each game. They just can't get the 33rd point because that belongs to Jay-Sean Jack. He may look like he's not moving. He may look like he's hiding in a bush. But no. The action is flowing from him like a waterfall.
There's always action around Jay-Sean Jack. He doesn't need to go anywhere. It all comes to him, as Dreamer 1111 is about to find out. B&B got back to their homes, as we still have 2 Death Trails and crew that's going to be coming in over here. And Dr. Steez, young Jerry Lennon, and Dreamer all going to be approaching the Jay-Sean Jack.
Yeah, I want to see if Jay-Sean Jack can deal with this. Dreamer might be dreaming if he thinks he can win this 1v1 right now. That's the thing. Jay-Sean Jack fights you without you even knowing there's a fight. And there it is. Jay-Sean Jack! I told you not to try to mess with him. Can he get a 2v1 here? He takes down Death to Trails. Excuse me, Dreamer 111, and he throws down the Bangalore ultimate. The action begins, and the hero is still alive.
He's got goals, and guess what? That means the fact that Toaster's going to hear what's going to happen. Dr. C is coming in. He's got yellow armor. This is a hard fight to hit, but does manage to knock it all away. Jay-Sean Jack trying to make it happen. He manages to pick up another one. What?
We told you about him. In a world not so far away, there is a hero being born. And his name is Jay-Sean Jack.
Oh no, but he's running into another squad. Infinite Sniper isn't looking into here, but guess what, B&B? They flanked all the way around back behind this. They're coming after where Dreamer and Steez were. They're protecting him. B&B has chosen a side, and they want Jay-Sean Jack to live.
But what they don't realize is this was Jay-Sean Jack's plan all along. He's controlling this, pulling the strings like the puppet master. And it's just going to be B&B who decide to see if they want to break the simulation, if they want to get out of the Matrix, or if Jay-Sean Jack is going to keep him in there. He's going to slide so casually and throw that smoke down, but there is one other player. I think B&B's threat level has raised past midnight here. And they realized that they wouldn't be able to survive if they let Jay-Sean Jack continue.
Got to send all three at the same time. That's the only way you can take down that man. We saw it just a second ago. BNB is going to go ahead and pick up a victory and should be able to get themselves a strong position on the leaderboard, as we have now just created our own Chuck Norris jokes with Jay Sean Jack.
They weren't jokes, Matt.
It's just the truth. Facts.
Yeah. How could something so true and factual be a joke? Jay Sean Jack clearly changing the tone, setting the tone for the rest of the lobby. If he can do it by himself, you should be able to do it with all three. You got to love the performance, and you got to love the commitment to making a good situation, a bad situation turn good. And to be fair, although BNB get a dominant win yet again, will get those numbers down, and they will extend their lead up on top. To win that 2v1, that kind of 1v1 that ended up happening, he got the kill, then he went back, healed a little bit, took so much damage, and the right peak, the left peak, to nail that's a clutch kind of moment. He got out of there alive.
And, he was out-armored inside that situation. He was inside of a very obvious position that he was hiding behind. Those are hard firefights to win, so kudos where kudos are due. It did buy him, I think, one placement point, or one placement position. But let's be honest, BNB were a story in this. Can't hide from just close range sprays I get in the window of destiny right there. That just, well played. Again, having the wherewithal just to stop and go, I can see them and they can't shoot me. Let me tell you where they're at is so smart.
Yeah, and also just saying that, you're the threat now. Like, you're not shooting them, but you could drop down and start shooting, which is what he did eventually. They just didn't know when. And you see Jay Sean Jack cleans up one there, survives this with 20 health to his name. Peaks has that confidence. Dr. Steez doesn't have a chance. BNB, they had to throw all of their members at him, and that was Metal Gear's eliminated. Solid Snake, Jay Sean Jack. That's a combo right there.
It's really honestly true. I think this is the second time he's managed to sneak into that, and oh my god.
Oh my. This is the highest.
25?
This is the highest I think we have seen. This is a 37-point game, I believe.
What?
And that might be the highest game in history. 38 maybe, but 37 is about as high as I've ever seen. 36 I think is a record. 37 might be. We're going to try to pull that up if we can for you to get the information.
This is astounding. Again, just dominant. And you can't say the fact, circle, look, or whatever. They kept leaving the circle to go get more kills. MX Rollers going down early, suddenly BNB was just like, all right, everything is now ours. As in a lobby with, I don't even remember how many dropped. We have to check that whenever we come back in. How many players are dropping in and killing 25 people inside of that lobby?
What do we have? 14 teams. It's like 42 people in there. So 25 is more than half the lobby.
And you have to remove them as well.
Right. It's like well beyond more than half the lobby. It's probably about 5%, something like that. Maybe
only
70%
60% of the lobby. How dare you you only kill 60% of the lobby in a competitive Apex event?
Wow. Yeah, just a class above, clearly. And they will get their second win of the day. If it's any indication of what this looks like in a lot of the other tournaments, if you watched EMEA or you watched Europe earlier, that's why we were making such a big deal out of it. Already we see 2 teams win. Here we see the second team win again. So we have a back-to-back already. We went 4 games without having the same team win again, and it was only in the very end as a duo that they pulled it off to win the 5th game. That's, of course, we don't play. But, oh my goodness, 73 total points. Wow, wow, wow. It is now looking like a battle for second after 3, unless Rollers can respond yet again. But
they tried it last time.
They did, so I can't count them out. But the 5th spot, Metal Gears, the Heroics from Jay Sean Jack has pushed them into tied with 4th. They're technically in the money, except for a tiebreaker right now, which looks to be eliminations or maybe the highest scoring point game. I'll find out what it is in a moment. But yeah, this is a great spot for Matchroom. I think the top 5 teams to have a chance here to be in the money, and nothing is too far. Even Rollers MX right now, if they don't have another pop-off game, is too far away from most of those teams.
We still have 2 left, so B&B did have a bad game. There is the capabilities of stringing together 2 games, so I don't know. But with that said, that is a statement of a game, and the likes of which I hadn't seen until the last 2 games before this, and that makes it sound like this is just common, but I swear to you, this does not happen all that often. Really?
Oh, no.
I 48 kills in, 3 games?
Yeah, it's crazy.
3 games?
Insane. Yeah, it's a 16 kill average, right? That's really nuts.
Weak.
Incredible stuff. I mean, Ruthless Rampart, shout out to them. 8 points, 11th on 0 eliminations. So at least getting into that top 10 quite often. Young Jerry Linden, you had mentioned them a lot. Dreamer 11, 1,111. And Dr. Steez 420. Dr. Steez running into Jay Sean Jack. That would have been unfortunate. They would have been able to add some more points and E-limbs with that.
I know. I feel bad for Ruthless Ramparts. They just wanted to get a KP, man. And out
Just
of
one.
everybody to bump into, Jay Sean Jack.
Jay Sean Jack. Well, I mean, that's kind of the great element of what these community tournaments are as well. Yes, we're playing for money, we're playing for prizing, but this isn't a league in where there are spots that each team has that, they are committed to for a certain amount of time. These teams voluntarily come back, they train, they get back every weekend. When you do these tournaments, what you see isn't necessarily the tournaments that they've played, because they have to play a play-in tournament to get into the broadcast tournament. And so these teams are investing a lot of time, but by choice. And so sometimes you get lobbies that look different. You don't get every team in there. And then sometimes you get these great stories that you're not going to get next week. You're not going to get the week before, but you're getting right now, and you got to enjoy them while you can. Maybe it's a little bit of the Jay Sean Jack that we're saying, but maybe it's just the fact that we're seeing B&B have a record-setting pace in terms of an Apex Legends tournament. Let's be honest, Matchroom, there's not going to be many teams that in any lobby, anywhere you watch competitive Apex, put together a performance like that.
It's just kind of astounding how these teams, whenever they realize what they can do and they just decide to do it, whenever all the hurdles go away and instead of trying to jump over all the problems, they just get to sprint to the finish line, what they can do. And that last game was just an example of it. Is B&B was just oppressive. Like, it felt like they were everywhere. Every section of the map was B&B.
But look at this, man. I mean, walk me through. We're still seeing neighbors go for that Mirage. Is it hitting? Is it hitting for you? Is that just a comfort pick? I mean, I can respect it.
Do what you do. I mean, it didn't work last time, but hey, could have just been unlucky, right? That's the way to look at it.
That's true.
I mean, at this point, whenever you're going up against like B&B and MX rollers that just keep throwing back 30-point games, play whatever you want. I mean, if you can try to stop them, it doesn't matter. I don't care. If you find sticks on the ground and you can throw them at them and you think that can do you some good, do it.
Anything that you can, right? Anything to get the job done. I respect that too, by any means necessary sometimes. You just hope that those means have a means to an end, and that end is at least in the money, because that's what they're fighting for today. Not only being on broadcast, but qualifying into top 10 for our final in January. They have now 2 more games to do it. The swing game, I like to call it right here. And really just a beautiful opportunity for them to make a move from the bottom to the top of the lobby. This is a decider. So I expect to see, and I want to get your thoughts too, Matchroom, a little bit of a slower pace, to be honest. I think people will play this one with a little bit more caution, understanding the implications of doing well and also getting out early.
Yeah, I think that could be a trend that we could try to see set by everybody except for B&B. B&B, I think, is just got their sights set on a new record because they want to break the one that they just set, most likely. Is they have some points that they can play around with as other people don't. The Divide does have themselves some fun that's going on over to the east, as it looks like Foundry is also going to have a couple teams. As another Northern Circle now happening, is again the core being the center point of it, and this seems to be the recipe for success for B&B. Is let's see if it's going to continue and happen yet again.
Early skirmish here with Ruthless Ramparts. They opted for the Loba. And it's another fight with Oni. It's the Horizon Caustic on whites and in a building but not set up. This is where it feels like there should be an advantage for the Caustic, but not quite. Because you do need that extra shielding to take advantage of the fact that your bullets against you go 15% less as far as the other bullets because of your passive Fortify. Also, the Caustic barrels shut down rotations. They shut down flanks, so you can be establishing a much more predictable path your enemy's going to run. That's why time in these fights ends up benefiting the Horizon Caustic. But if they can get it done quickly, Bangalore and Loba have, I think, a better advantage because they can rotate very, very fast. Both individually have decent hitboxes. And so we'll follow along to see if maybe we see it down in our kill feed. Right now, though, a Toaster getting into it right here, and it's a good gravity lift just to grab some height.
Getting some vision on top of this. We're back over in the northeast of what all is going to be going on. Is this is going to be a fight for positioning as well as a free path into this next circle and contend with whoever's going to be gatekeeping over there. Good long-range shots, not hitting a massive amount of damage, but at least enough to discourage, and I think that's what it looks like. Toaster, we've seen that their playstyle is not a commitment to early game fights. They will try to control an area, but whenever they think that they've got an escape path, they will take it, and they will try to set up for the next fight after this. It's a very hit-and-run strategy, and it has managed to get them into the top 5.
I mean, top 5 is perfect heading into the final game. You know what I mean, man? It's what you kind of want. A lot of teams overcomplicate things because you don't need 10 big games. I mean, we look at the top and you get them. That's the matter of being really good. That's like putting a National Basketball Association team, in a college basketball system, right? They're going to dominate most games by a mile, but it doesn't mean that that's the strategy. You got to be that good or you can't succeed. You still want to get to the national championship. You still want to have an opportunity to get to the big show. So you play the system, and the system doesn't require massive wins, even though the best teams get them. The system requires consistency, and it requires giving yourself an opportunity to have a big game by staying alive. And that is where I think we're seeing performances go maybe unnoticed, and I'm trying to notice them more actively because, that is a big part of Battle Royale. As I'm sure you know, coming from just a long history of casting other Battle Royales, it's just that's not just as important. Sometimes that's more important than the big flashy games.
The big flashy games and going for those also means the fact that you have to play the nerve-wracking games because you also have the games where you go out and only get 1 point.
That's right.
That's sure, the big flashy games are fun, and boy, you feel good when you win them, but you also feel really terrible when you go out with 1 point. And it's a yo-yo on the leaderboard. Sometimes just leaning into consistency, leaning into the system, like I said, trust the system. Understand what you're good at. Play your win conditions. Your win conditions might not be going for 20, 30 kills. You just have to be self-aware of what your skills are. I cannot go kill half a lobby. I know that. But I can read a circle, and I can get to a good point, and I can play for placement, and I can make sure to defend a point. And I hope that I have somebody on my team that can frag out. My job is not to get the kills. My job is to get the team to the safe spot. And well, your team has to understand what their play style is as well.
Absolutely. You brought up a great point that I saw, I heard in interviewing a player who goes by the name of Graceful on maybe the best performing team in Europe right now, IG International, talking about how his teammates, JMW and Noises, are top-tier players. He's not. His role isn't to be. His role is to coach them and put them in a position to surpass him because he knows what to do. He's got the experience, but ultimately he knows that he doesn't have that level of talent. And so he's just there to facilitate. And there are roles to this and levels to this that I think we're seeing even in our community of PlayStation tournaments, esports, and the Apex Legends side of things start to discover, yeah, this is deeper than just 3 predators fragging out. There's a whole way to be successful here. And okay, sometimes though, a big headshot on a golden 30-30 repeater, that will make a good point.
Dinosaur Venom hits these shots, but then just doesn't get the chance to follow up on it, and it hurts my soul sometimes. I want to see him just be able to, like, whenever we get to those in-game positions, him be able to hit these type of shots, because if whenever he was playing that advanced position inside that game that they made it to the tail end of, they could have won it with 1 or 2 shots like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's the other side of the coin, which is what I find funny about human nature. We sometimes can, discuss the nuances, because there are so many nuances. Everyone here watching, all the members in chat, you all are living completely individual lives, yet we're having some kind of shared experience right now. But you're going back to an experience I have no idea about. We overcomplicate things because we know it's so complicated. We know it's nuanced. When you get into fights like this, you go, well, that guy just hit more bullets into the other guy's body than he did. And it's not really that complicated. So yeah, that's a way to speak to him too. Right now, Dananino and Mercenary on Rollers MX trying to have that same conversation, saying, Evan, let's just keep it simple, please. And the Hemlock not necessarily acquiescing to the suggestion, but 20 damage will send them packing their way, and they will clean up a couple of kills here in the building for now.
I mean, that's what you need. All just slow and steady wins the race. At the end of the day, we were just talking about it. Rollers MX just wanting to make sure that they can get the kills, try to catch up, try to make sure that they don't overextend into everything. And I'm still going through a metaphysical crisis because I wasn't expecting to go down philosophy with the shared experience now, and I'm all in my own head.
Well, you know, that's what we try to do. You know, try to elevate the broadcast by bringing it in, and then we bring it back out. You know, and then we go down into talking about how the heck does Seer have a flatline right now that only has a white magazine? That's got to get upgraded to level 3 pronto, my friend. That is not a good spot you want to have. But hey, at least it's got a magazine, and you've got my favorite sight, the Ranger. I prefer it. I think it's better than the Bruiser, even though the Bruiser is solid on the flatline. I think if I have one, I'll take the Ranger, especially with a map like Broken Moon, because I can be effective, and the flatline's so good at hip fire. So you have the damage from range, you have better capability there, but then if you get up close, you don't really need to aim down sights.
I want to point out to everybody where BNB is. See that blue team that's south of South Promenade running around? Remember they started in core? And see how Soul Eater and his team are running into other teams? This is what BNB does. They force third and fourth parties by always chasing a team. They are always the third party because they were the first party that made somebody run. It just leads into a firefight where another team has to fight each other, and then they just pounce on both the weakened ones. And then they spot a solo, they chase it into another squad, and rinse, repeat. It's a science that they have gotten down so well.
Too bad they don't let you study this one before you get in the game. Sure would be very popular nowadays. BNB though, look at that. It's the science of hitting shots. Rezakai, the experiment gone wrong there. Or right, depending on which perspective you have. ADMP from range with the 301. See, on the Bruiser, could use the Ranger there to have the impact, but is actually going to grab the car. Seems like some players, they do just prefer different sites, and that is important to realize, you know, so you have to fight with what is working for you. There's not necessarily too much of a strategy around it. There is just, however, preference and whatever allows you to hit more shots.
There's
got.
Yeah, there's a lot of belief in the, doesn't matter if you got, if you can go ahead and get who got you, right? Going back to what you're talking about, yeah, a lot of this is like muscle memory in which like scopes work better, which is one of the reasons I always find it so funny that people are like, this is the best scope and this is the best scope. It's like, it kind of really depends on your sensitivity choices, what works best for you, how you move the sticks. There's a lot to it.
Oh, there really, really is. I mean, and I think sometimes too, it's interesting how, because it is based on what you're used to, what are the things that allow certain people to have kind of strong agreements about certain scopes? Is it that the scope actually does give some advantage? Like, even in this game, they had to change the R99 and some of the cosmetic, basically iron sights that weapon gave because it was giving a competitive advantage. What that really meant was it just doesn't clutter the screen the same way. You have a clearer visual, and I think they tend to think that opens people up. So there's kind of you know, whether we're used to shooting in games like that, and we've got history of other games providing similar experiences, so we've got more muscle memory there. If something's a little bit more experimental, all good thoughts to kind of try to say, well, what does make a scope, if anything, better? And is there such a thing as better, or is it all very personal? Might just be something in between.
Well, BNB, I feel like it doesn't matter, the scope. It doesn't matter what they have. Wow. They just won't relent. It's a beautiful thing to watch the destruction that they wreak upon people. Is now they have picked up one, they've spotted out where the other ones are going to be coming from, they're making the push in. TPK that we saw just a second ago, here's this fight, and they might third party into it, but BNB, yeah, give me the bow check. I'm sorry, I'm a sucker for this thing. I love
the bow check too. Big fan of it. It was pretty busted when it first came out, as I'm sure people experienced.
Don't take this away from me.
But, you know, I liked it even during that time. I'm a big fan of weapons, you know, in their prime. Not that they need to stay there, but when they do come out, I just enjoy it for the time being. And yet the bow has kind of had a resurgence. It's an interesting one because it obviously suffers from, you know, you not being able to have that up close shotgun-esque style fight. But we've seen shotguns lose value. We've actually seen SMGs and ARs kind of run the table, or really just kind of scout style weapons, 30-30 scout with a SMG or assault rifle. That has really been the way that we have seen the Apex thing go, and shotguns have kind of fallen to the wayside.
The unreliability that can sometimes happen with him is, I can see people just constantly having issues with. Looking in, I lean into more of the Jay-Sean Jack style. I want to be a Rambo-esque character, firing off my bow into the thick of a firefight and feeling like a complete and utter badass.
Oh, that's a dream most people have, Matt. That's, you know, it's nothing to be upset about with that one.
It just makes me happy. There's something about having that bow in my hand. I don't even know, just talking about it. Established here is the Hydras, looking like they're finding themselves a firefight of benefit. Getting some good sprays in through this doorway. I like the abuse going back forward, but gotta be careful. That was a clean spray on the opposite side to make it to where Goku Black took a ton of damage. I like the thematics as well as Goku Black playing something that generates all the play.
And I think what we're missing from Goku Black and the Catalyst play is getting more aggressive. I think what Catalyst has done really well that I've seen is stall fights and obviously trap opponents. What I haven't seen Catalyst do is play off the back of their own Dark Veils and get kills and make plays. That's the one thing that I think if teams start to try to figure out, how can I throw this Dark Veil up and then become a threat? How can I actually make people go, oh no, when's the Catalyst going to peek, poke, prod, deal with me? You know, and maybe ways we're talking about the shotgun, because it's such an AR situation, when you do peek after that Dark Veil on one side, you got to stay a little longer with the SMG. But if you peek over and you got a PK pump hitting 90, 98, that might be a big threat, especially you go back to the other side of the Veil. Now they don't know when you're coming back. It's kind of like a bubble fight in the way we used to see around the Gibby meta. So for me, that's my hope for Catalyst players. I think I've loved seeing them on display here, but I think that there's a way to make them more lethal. Because that to me is what's clearly making this character more of a fringe pick. I think pros see the potential, but I just don't think they see it in terms of winning fights as much as they do see it in terms of being a good utility during a fight.
There is a lot of potential that can be had with what we're looking at and the capabilities of the kit. It's just, it needs reps. And that's one of the reasons I love events like this is how you get the reps. This is how you see what it can do. You try to push it to the utmost potential. And I mean, think about it. We're now in game number 4, so Goku Black has died 3 times at this stage. He should be at about that power-up point to where he should be able to just like do a massive scream and take down whoever's going to be around him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This should be it, right? Hands over his head. He's been gathering power for a season and a half. Well, see what we could do.
Oh, wait, that's regular Goku. Goku Black is they're totally different.
Yeah, you know, more similarities than you think, though, at the end of the day.
This is true.
It's just
earrings.
Whatever. Yeah, just basically earrings, haircut. It's the only style.
The NB, they found themselves, I think that's going to be TRK up there, as you can see, kind of be forcing them away from it. Hydra's still just holding down position right now as Goku Black and the rest of the crew are heavily surrounded by, I believe that's going to be Toaster that's up above them. Dinosaur Venom, the solo out, kind of hearing everything that's going to be going on, but the circle continues to go back over to Dry Gulch, and this is very, very close to where I think that we saw one of those earlier games ending at with that wall on the outside of it, so see how people managed to learn from those earlier stages is getting some good shots in, but it's BNB. That's like just, what do you do? Like in the air, refilling and waiting to pounce on you because his teammates already got it. Oh, and then the respect bullets into Rollers MX.
Yep, basically.
I will put parentheses or quotations, whatever you want, around respect bullets.
I like the concept of respect points, you know? I mean, you see them doing things that, as Jay-Sean Jack gets down the Sorrow, do we need to cut to this fight and see what's going on here? Because the action hero of the day, Jay-Sean Jack, gets another death to Trails. Death to all. At least in Apex, who end up challenging Jay-Sean Jack.
It's unfair. That was just a duo. We've already established you need 3 to take him on. A Toaster trying to make a push in, but that is a solid defense coming up. And so with this, the Hydras do get eliminated. Toaster do manage to breach in. Now the question is, who's going to exploit it, as it's going to be Dynasty on the other side, realizing there is an opportunity to be had, but he is pretty separated away. Whoppies away from this. My God, what do you do against this team in a close-range firefight?
Yeah, they just know how to be a nuisance, and that's the benefit of them. They can get in, they can deal so much damage, because they are just unreal in terms of aim, and then they can get out, and then it's time for the other two to go to work. Right now here, they're going to need some type of miracle, some type of secret kind of ability or utility, because Jay Sean Jack has just gone down, and that's a lifeline that you do not want to lose. Dynasty, though, if anyone was going to take him down, it was the combined might of BNB. And now a Toaster up on high. They actually have a pretty good spot. The gravity lift just barely used from ADMP. This is a chance. But they lose one to Dynasty again, and it's just unfortunate they're not all fighting as a 3, because, see what I'm saying? They actually did a great job of pressuring out ADMP when he rose on that gravity lift.
Now jumping back into it, BNB just attacks you from
good.
everywhere, it feels like. They're just every single angle, every approach. TPK hears this. They're now coming in. They might try a third, maybe even fourth party this, depending on how it's starting to brew. BNB, though, just playing the smokes, playing it slow, playing it efficient. They're going to be able to just continue to hold this out. But the circle has left and has gone up to the north.
Yeah.
Dinosaur Venom already inside of it.
I like that. I saw that play just like you did on the map. Dinosaur Venom makes a nice rotation out of these fights and just says, I'm not going to bother. You know, if you guys continue doing what you're doing, this is going to be an easy second place for me. And I do not blame them. B&B get back up, though, and that's just the master class they're showing. They have height. Every single member on that team typically has access to some type of distance, some type of buffer, a buttress against a hard aggression. And it's how they can get out of a fight and then get back into it. And certainly continuing to do so is Dynasty up on top. 42, 99, 127. It's not enough. Dynasty takes about 80 in return, but still trades much more there. An Infamous Sniper having to hit a shield battery, and then will have to also hit a medkit.
Uh-oh, Dinosaur Venom has been spotted out. It's going to be Trayvon that's going to be coming after him right now. Dinosaur Venom, no shields to be had as the fight's still going on over there between Toaster. Your Blug's Plug trying to survive it out. TPK going to be coming in back behind him. Dinosaur Venom, man, this is economy right here. An RE-45 charge rifle and single bats.
Yeah. You're very, very right. All of those things
It's solo central
cost a little, do a lot.
There's 3 solos all looking at each other. Trayvon, Dinosaur Venom, and TPK's X-Shin.
Well, B&B, you know, if it was the solos able to communicate, might just say, why don't we turn our attention on B&B, and then we'll all find it out 1v1, one at a time. Rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first. Fortunately, I feel like this means that every solo is out for themselves, and going up against the threat of B&B, it's not looking much better. With this, what would feel like a win incoming, B&B will secure their spot in first place today, taking $600 with them and making everyone very clear that they are the best in the North American Masters circuit, at least right now.
See, respect bullets, yet again. Giving them to your teammates, even, is B&B. It's brutal, almost. Like, I don't want to make the cyberbullying joke, but at some points in these fights, it just feels like that. I didn't get a chance, because I wanted to jump into it for a second. Dynasty, the way he plays Pathfinder requires so much map knowledge. You can see that he just knows exactly the next place that he wants to be. He knows the angle, where the other person is already going to be trying to hide at in defense, and just always finds a way to get a crack on a shield, to open it up, find some new opportunity for his team. It just feels unrelenting, because every single time you think that you're safe, nope, there's a Pathfinder sitting there with an angle on your head.
Yeah, well, and you know, the way that they play, it allows Pathfinder to be the best version of that character, because each of those legends trying to buy time for each other, trying to get in your face, then get out of your face. The Horizon's flying up, the Bangalore's throwing smokes, the Pathfinder outside swinging like a, you know, Apex version of Spider-Man. The difference is, inside, if you played Zone, that character would have very little to no use for you. And so it's imperative that B&B do have this roaming kind of vagabond, vanguard nature, that we like to go anywhere and everywhere, and we like to be the first there. And when we do, we're happy to take on any challenge that comes in front of us. And, you know, a little place like this, just show the confidence, as you were mentioning, that they're playing with. A nice grapple into a slide, keep the hip fire out. And that's just the nature of the beast when you talk about a team that is that good individually.
I mean, it's just a full-on shake and bake every single time. Just, you think that you're getting attacked from one way, but suddenly you're getting attacked from another. You think that you've got control over the floor, but suddenly you're being attacked from above and below. It's just every single angle. I mean, look at what it's like to be on Toasters, the other side of this one. You're shooting up at one, then suddenly another one comes down, then they both drop out of cover, then you've got Dynasty. Like, you're just being hit constantly and having to constantly look around. You don't even get a chance to, like, recoup or communicate where it's all coming from.
Yeah, Dynasty, whether maybe an IGL or whether just clearly like a very talented player, you know, a Wilby and AD&P a lot of times stick together and they kind of play off of each other. And Dynasty often, because of the nature of the grapple and the movement, you know, kind of is on his own. And that does open things up for both of them. And the fact that, you know, he can leave and two more come, that's really, really hard to finish off all of them. You got to kind of pick your poison, fight in the right time, and you can see 2,500 damage, 7 kills for them. That is another massive game. It's 16 kills overall. It is 28 points after getting a 32 and a 37-point game. This is just a phenomenal day.
It is just absolutely nasty. And that's the only way I can say it is, again, I love the way that they play. We don't see, like, we often see the Wolfpack strategy. There's 3 members rolling together with a slight line, you know, approaching from different sides, but really trying to execute and pull off a 2-point push with the side flank. That requires so much communication, so much trust, and so much capabilities to get yourself out of bad situations, and just trust in your teammates to, if you do, for them to be able to come up and support you, and understanding the angles that they're even approaching from. There is so much complexity in this. It's why we don't often see it get played. But whenever we do see it get played, and it is played well, it is so hard to stop.
B&B, 3 wins on the day. Over 100 points in 4 games. Certainly on pace to break a record here.
And I will remind you,
PlayStation Master Circuit.
They had a bad game where I think they got like 3 points.
Yeah, you're right. They did have a bad game. This is basically 3 points. 3 games worth of points, basically.
Yeah.
That is nuts. But in, you know, despite that, 2nd through 4th and 5th, that's a close one.
Yeah.
Rollers MX, a Toaster, Metal Gears, Outsiders, all within 15 points of each other. And 4th and 5th within 1 point of each other. That is a great sign heading into Game 5. All of those teams in the money and having a chance to swap places to either get 2nd, to grab 4th away from Metal Gears. Black Mamba, Packers, Dinosaur Venom, you know they're going to be motivated to do that. They've already played well. Jay Sean Jack, too, holding down that 4th place. That solo moment from him has got them enough points to be right there alongside Josh Vio and Trevon. A Toaster, Lily Tay, Infamous Sniper, your Plugs Plug. They have been good placement-heavy teams. Look at that, 31 points from placement. And, of course, Rollers MX. They started strong. They had that huge game, but in the games before and after, Matt, they've really not done much.
It's hard. I mean, it's one of those things that whenever we look at B&B is so oppressive. Like, whenever a team is killing 60% of the lobby, it's hard to have a good game. I mean, what do you consider good? Your whole perspective has to shift. Like, okay, we got 6 points. That's good by comparison to everyone else, and we'll take that. But it's not. It's also a moral blow in some fashion to go, well, that's better than everybody else at 6 points. Yay.
Yay. Well, you know, they're going to be trying to figure out some way they can hype themselves up because they definitely need it. All of this happening too, and all the money on the line in Game 5. And you know why? Because they went to compete.playstation.com and signed up for this tournament. If you want to get involved and engaged in our Apex Legends esports scene here at PlayStation, then go to compete.playstation.com and sign up. You might be able to make the next Master Circuit, or better yet, you might just be able to keep tabs on what we're doing and something that might come across one day that you're interested in, whether it's Street Fighter V, maybe it's Rainbow Six Siege. The options are bountiful. So go to compete.playstation.com, see what interests you, and sign up and take advantage of what you might earn when you play. All right, we're coming back with Game 5, our final game of today, our final game before we see you in January after the holidays in our finals. So do not go anywhere. We got a lot coming up. welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for our PlayStation Tournament's final game in our wild card number 4. This is the Master Circuit, and I am your host, Rain Day, alongside Matchroom. He's been alongside me for EU, and now Matchroom for NA. Great games so far, 9 games in total. Here's our 10th, and it decides who gets into the money. It decides who gets into the grand finals in January, and it decides if we're going to see something historic with B&B continuing what is 3 out of 4 games that they have won today.
And I mean, it says something when the worst game of the day is a 16-kill game. That is a phenomenal set of events. I mean, look at the eliminations by comparison to just total points for other teams. It's ridiculous. Almost placement points. Just B&B's placement points would put them in 4th.
Yeah, I think that's really where you start to see the differences, too. I mean, let's talk about this. Look at placement points there from B&B, but look at a Toaster. I mean, they're only 6 points away in terms of placement. The difference is how they're getting to that final circle. B&B are on a world tour, and it's like an all-expenses-paid vacation around the map to where everybody else is staying.
Hey, I mean, if B&B is doing that to everybody, it's not the worst idea just to get in the circle and try to get away from it all. I mean, reap what the chaos is being sowed around you. I think it's funny, though, that we actually see, whenever we look at a Toaster and MX Rollers, they're close to each other, but in totally different ways. MX Rollers leaning into the kills, using that to propel themselves up the leaderboard, lighter on the placement points, given the fact that they've even won a game. But then on the opposite side of it, Toaster, all placement points and just a tiny amount of kills. And again, I know we've been kind of talking about this, there's a lot of different ways to play this game, and I love seeing these different variations and mindsets really step up against each other.
Well, I want to give a couple of stats just to give you awareness of what's going on here. Going into this, it was Fake Preds who had the most map wins out of any team in North America. They had 5 map wins. Titanus had 4. B&B, they had 3. In just one day, the last day, they have doubled their map wins. They are now the #1 most winning team in all of North America heading into the finals. They have a chance to add even some padding to that by making it 2 more ahead of second place. But Rollers MX, they've also doubled. They got a win today. They only had 1 win over the course of the season thus far in our 3 days. I would love to see them have a bounce-back game here. I would love to see them challenge, especially with B&B playing so well, because, let's be honest, going into the grand final, it doesn't get easier. You just add Fake Preds, you add Titanus, you make sure Parallel is firing on all cylinders, you add CPT in there. It doesn't get easier, so Rollers MX now have a great challenge on their hands. Will they rise to the occasion and find a way to win, even though there's this monster on the other side of things? If so, I'd love to see how they do it, because that's what I'm waiting to hear, to see from this team if they're going to have a chance.
And all that is really, really important. But I just want to see if any other team other than a 3-man stack of B&B can kill Jay-Sean Jack, because it's been them the past 2 times. It's taken all 3 of them to kill him as a
I don't think they can.
So,
it's not possible.
Who else has it
in fact, they might need to send 6, Matt, in order to take him down. They might need to send the whole lobby, to be honest.
It's a good time to be on his team, because you're the only person that you not in his sights right now.
See, why can't my PS4 names be like that, okay? Jay-Sean Jack. That's a name that you're not going to forget, okay? Now, I love that everyone references the names they've probably been playing with on PlayStation since they were 5 years old and had a PlayStation. But it may be time, if you keep being in this Master Circuit, to change it to something that's going to have a ring to it. At a certain point, you get on broadcast enough, you realize people say your name enough, you got to make sure that's the name you want to be said. I had to do it, too. I had to think about it. And so I know that this is a call to arms to my console competitive players. I've casted console leagues for a very long time, many, many years now. And one of the things that is the biggest variable is some of the names. So, hey, something that's going to be memorable, I think, Matt, there's absolutely no negative to that. I think there's a lot of positive to it as well.
Hey. Octane. Dynasty. Can't stop, won't stop, let's go. I want it all. Additionally, 2 teams have managed to drop next to B&B, and it looks like one of them has already decided they don't want to be here anymore, so they're going to go down to Divide, where Goku Black and his crew are already holding down. So, now I think it's going to be Toaster is going to be playing to the north of them, or Jet Life, and Yep, Plugs Plug, they're all there. BNB actually taking an early casualty, and this is kind of what we were talking about. We've kind of seen if you're going to have a team that's hyper dominant, try to catch them before they get loot. Maybe that might be your opportunity.
Well, you could tell that they switched some things up. I mean, they've gone off the Bangalore and the Horizon and the Pathfinder, and now they're on the Octane, Wraith, and the Bloodhound. So complete lineup change for BNB, but the same intention. We're aggressive. We like to get aggressive. Oh my God. The same aim, too. Dynasty makes it look so easy. But early game, having a purple magazine for the R99, that's a big deal. Not a lot of players are going to have comparable firepower at this moment in time, and I think they've already started to stabilize. They've already started to find the value here. Dynasty not even going to try to get a Wope up.
I mean, just look at the way he's playing this. I love the way that he uses the maneuverability of these legends. It's you often see the capabilities of it and you know what they can do, but he is such a pro at exploiting it. He just attacks you from everywhere. He knows where you are. He hits you, runs away. And hey, might have bitten off a little bit too much that time around. Only one member up on both sides. As this has become a contained fight. Just these two teams.
You know, I thought it was rather silly that they didn't try to get a Wope up fast enough. Now they are. Wope's like, finally. I really don't understand what was going on there. They will be able to stabilize, but it's closer than they probably would have liked. And Infamous Sniper, he's just going to back off.
Plugs Plug gets plugged, and now Sniper's got to go run off. And let's say, I respect what a Toaster was trying to do, and they got close. I mean, this did get down into a 1v1. It's just, that's its own victory in and of itself, right? You get to live to see another day, and you managed to make a hot drop onto BNB and almost won it. And neither one of you, I guess, lost. Well, I mean, technically Toaster did lose 2 of their members, but nobody's dead.
Nobody's dead. Yeah, that's a big difference. It's a big deal. Something you can be happy about.
Oni playing aggressive with 2 members. I like it.
As you should. Really, early game is where you're going to have the best chance of having an isolated fight. Later game, you know, is 2. You're going to have to kind of stay away as long as possible until there's a opening, an opportunity. And I think that's why you're going to see these early engagements and this early confidence, because they know the later it gets, it doesn't get much better for them. Why not try to get some KP?
Is an octobird an 8-winged bird? Or is it like 8 birds tied together?
8 birds tied together. I was going to say, well, what would the other version be? But then you said 8 birds tied together, and I said, you know what, Matrim, that's probably what it is, you know.
I mean, I can see that 8 fluffy birds tied together, right?
Also, an 8-winged bird, I mean, you know, that's, we may need to ask Dinosaur Venom, because it feels like that might be from his time and not ours.
I know, like, you'd think that 8 wings would just kind of bump into each other and be non-productive, right? That's, like, counterintuitive to what you're trying to accomplish.
That's like too many. Too many. Be extremely fun to see, though.
It would be, as it looks like TRK has decided that they want to try to do a similar thing that Toaster just did. Here's the thing, though. BNB has had a chance to get some of their loot more organized, and yeah, that one's gonna hurt.
Yeah, Memo Kusai taking on the very team that they want to beat, but haven't been able to get over. And that is Dynasty finishing off Memo, Fluffy Octobird, take down TPK Guest, Shin, Nightmare. They're going to take down Oni. They will finish this one off.
But look how close that was.
Zone may get him, though. May get Nightmare.
Ooh, I think
he'll be okay. It did get Nightmare, actually. Yeah. But he's going to pop a syringe. This should be enough as long as they do it. Or a med kit. Oh, it's a syringe, actually. So it's going to have to keep healing. They're so close, though. It really shouldn't be a problem.
Well, they were close, but after getting these reses off, they're going to be so far behind the circle. I'm kind of worried about this. That the duo may have just managed to backstab in a most influential way. And I love that. I love and also kind of hate that BNB got hot dropped. They had to deal with a team off the get-go. And yet they're still chasing down Goku Black and his squad because they're already still sitting phenomenal in loot and gear and want to go for more kills. It's just dirty what they can manage to accomplish.
Oh, yeah. I mean, No doubt about it. This team has all of the parts and pieces they need to put together a high-performing vehicle. Dinosaur Venom and Packers. Oh, that's a nice grenade. That will do something. Dr. Steez will feel it. Ruthless Rampart's playing his 3 now. Dreamer 1-1-1. 1. Well,
yeah, threw me 2.
Back off.
They throw that extra 1 on there, and you don't ever expect it. 3 different teams involved in this fight right now. As you can see, Black Mamba trying to get some more out. You talked about the fact that we haven't seen much coming out from a couple of these squads, and this is one that we had some expectations for, but just haven't been able to pick up too much. It's going to be Jay-Sean Jack on the other side, already running some yellow for his shields right on the edge of the zone, so it looks like this is going to converge in. That yellow doesn't do much if you take that much damage off of it. You can see the Dinosaur Venom, the rest of the team are doing a good job on just gatekeeping out, and the zone is going to continue. This is pretty close to the edge, though, so not too bad for the Metal Gears.
Jay-Sean Jack on a goal. That's a scary sight for the lobby. Get back in the ring, says the text. Jay-Sean Jack says, nobody tells me what to do. I'm going to sit here and loot as long as I please. As is your right, Mr. Jack. As is your right. BMB flexing a different lineup, showing how good they can be, how dominant, even with 3 completely different legends. So far, they've got 5 kills, and they have proven that it is true. They got their 6 in their sight right here, 6, 7, and 8. And they just may not know it yet.
It's just the strategy. Once you have the strategy down, once you have the communication down, you can deal with some variables. And if anything, this is just great to start flexing out on, because you can start to get red at a certain point. Like, we've all seen it. Like, you go, okay, well, this is what's going to happen. Oh, I'm jumping into this third party. I know it's B&B here. I know what they're going to do. Once you start mixing up your legend selection, now that starts throwing in some variables that other people might not be expecting. You got to start second guessing yourself, and just a second, maybe even a half second or a tenth of a second, can turn a fight on its head.
You are absolutely right about that. It only takes a half second. They've got much more than that, too. It's nice to see the Wraith being brought back in to competitive in some way, shape, or form. A character, and obviously showing off the kunai knife.
See, I thought we were friends until you said, I'm glad to see Wraith back in the meta.
Oh, yeah. It's a tough spot for you, huh? There's a lot of Wraith early on, and it's been a while since we have seen
This is true.
her come back in. It's a little bit like that Caustic conversation we were having. Not too crazy.
I mean, Caustic was never, like, hyper meta. There was a period of time where you had just Wraith players. That was just their job. They were your Wraith, right?
That's true. I can't deny that. You are definitely right. Wraith has had a bigger heyday than Caustic. And Wraith has had a bigger heyday than pretty much any other legend in all of Apex Legends, I would say.
And I'm just not good with her. I'll just be honest. That's kind of the big problem with it, was it was so meta, so good. I understand what to do, but it goes back into the I know what's good, and I know that I should never play it, because me playing it just makes it worse.
Well, at least you have wisdom.
Wisdom and a lack of ego. By my powers combined, I can figure out a way to get in the end zone.
Wisdom and a lack of ego. Wow, what a superhero combination there.
It's very unexpected in esports these days.
You're basically like Jay-Sean Jack without the firepower. You know what I mean?
Oh, then
he's got it all.
I'll take that. That is a compliment, being compared to Jay-Sean Jack.
To even be uttered in the same sentence.
No, it's gotta go tell my wife real quick.
Yeah.
Clip this.
Honey, you'll never guess what happened.
Getting back in, you can see this is the chaos, and what's going to be going on is we are down and around. New kill leader is going to be BNB, as that is a shock to no one. They are pretty close to center, playing up around Alpha Base, where the circle has been going. We have 2 teams that are going to be going pretty far up to the northwest, could be intersecting, but down around Stasis Array, we have the capabilities for about 4 teams to all converge, depending on how the pathing comes in. Outsiders, one of those teams that are being more aggressive in the north, and it's good to start seeing them get some fights underneath of them, is, again, this is a squad that knows where to be, knows how to loot, knows what's going on. I just want to see them figure out their combat a little cleaner. And it's not the fact that they have bad aim, it's just, there's just not a synergy there yet, if that makes any sense. Like,
yeah, no, you're right. you know, when you're firing on all cylinders as a team, and then you find moments that it really does start to click, you see potential, but you don't really see the fulfillment of it for a while. I mean, that's life in so many different ways. How many years of anybody, I'll put myself out there, thought, I can't wait to do this. I want to execute on this. And, you know, it takes time, and then you decide, and then you realize, well, I got to work on that. And, you know, it's a process. But meanwhile, you know, you might have always known, you know, I have it in me. I've got to cultivate it. And that's what today for a lot of teams is all about too. And then, of course, getting into the final match, and that's where maybe that cultivation can have a highlight moment, can have a awakening, you know, when you put it all together. Because you'll have the holidays, you'll have many weeks to train, you'll have a way to look at the tape, which clearly B&B are dominating. For me, if I look forward into that, you know, teams have to have a plan. They have to have a plan on what they're going to do with these other teams. The fact that that lobby will have probably 20 teams in it will be different. It will mean that B&B can't do this without risking a lot more, because more teams will be in the vicinity of third party. But if they do want to do this, you got to decide what's the best way to win a lobby with all these hard, aggressive, edge-rotating teams.
And there is a downside to being a team as good as B&B, constantly killing everybody. That means that you're always on camera, and that means that somebody that's good at like watching tape, figuring out what you're doing, can really take it apart, because they're getting showcased a lot because reason. You kill half the lobby, we're going to see it quite a bit, and that allows teams to really go, okay, they move here, they do this is their secondary, this is their tertiary spot. If this happens, this is how they're going to move through things, and you can start to get some idea of the formula, and that's why it's so important for B&B right now. Play different legends, be flexing out what is the formula, so that way it is harder to read.
Loving that concept, loving that thought process. I think you're absolutely right.
I know it was
Big
on
shots
the downplay,
there
but it's still
from Awope. Dinosaur Venom and them. This is a team that I think needed to make a move here. It's not going to happen. 8 squads left, though. We'll see if they got enough kills to really make a difference. But, yeah, that was definitely not what they were hoping for here.
Well, the gods do bleed, as we can see that ADMP in the later stages of the game has been knocked, and it feels like that hasn't happened too often today. With everything that's been kind of going on here, and trying to get a feel for the movements that are going to be coming into the circle, as where we're going to be looking at, there is Black Mom pretty close to this position, right up on top of him, but all the other teams kind of playing into edge. You can see B&B going to be the blue right in the middle of everything. Black Mama doing a good job on surviving, not really allowing AP to get rezzed either. I think that's going to be Trayvon and the rest of the team, Jay-Sean Jack and his squad.
And if they do get it, ADMP is going to have to use this mobile respawn beacon, which they'll be fine to do. But Dynasty seems very, very confident as a solo player. It's really confident, however, to do it right here, knowing that there is a team looking at you. And there are several teams around, but they can pull this off. They know they'll be able to quickly get that respawn back, and it's just the wrong angle. Dynasty has to be figuring out where is that shot coming from. It's a triple take from on high.
There is also a team to the south.
He's going to do this. He's going to go for it.
Yeah, there's a team to the south, and we haven't had a chance to see them really too much, and that's going to be RTG. They've been getting caught in the thick of everything.
Wow, that was good.
Oh.
That was a really good silence there. They're going to go for it right here with another respawn, and now Wopi's going to hold that angle. Look at this. 2 players. They will get their squad member back. But my goodness, what a difficult way to do it.
16 still up, and it looks like they are going to provide the covering fire for allow this to happen. Good news is your crate should be right back over there, and shouldn't be too big of an issue to have to deal with. So now it's just really about navigating the circle, as B&B is even pretty close to that, as there's a team that they are gatekeeping out. This has been, I want to say, the most people alive we've seen at this stage today for North America.
I agree with you. Definitely been a lot of people alive. And B&B still doing something phenomenal in their process. You could just give them all the accolades today that exist in Apex Legends. Confidence, being able to salvage bad games, being able to do it as a duo, being able to do it as a trio, switching legends, taking fights, having adversity, rising to the top, hitting shots, winning 1v1s, holding angles, and, well, somehow coming out on top still. Well, they end it with a bit of a surprise. That's one down. Wope returns fire in kind, so it's still a 2v2, but it might be a similar situation. They're going for the thirst. But the flush, as you say, I think it's an important thing to mention. This is truly an important strategic element, trying to get at least one of those members out so you can keep it as a 2.
This is a very complicated area to map to have to contend with, and TPK is trying to exploit it. They also have a toaster that's holding down in this area, so this is a lot more teams than I think that we can see that BNB was expecting. They're not afraid to jump into a ton of teams in general, but in this case, I don't think that they were expecting how many teams were just kind of damaged up over here. With TPK taking these shots, though, BNB is... they're kind of like a hornet's nest. TPK did a good job on kicking it, and now all the hornets are coming after him when those two hornets are quite mad.
ADMP and Awope going to have to do it by themselves. They've got the beacon. They've got the, the banner, but they will need a beacon. You can see how close ADMP was to going down there. And they might just be searching some of these bins for a mobile respawn beacon. Not sure if they do have one. This one has already been used, and so they will... Yes, Awope does. So they'll be able to get it back up. I know.
Are you kidding me? Circle did pop very far to the north. We still have some of, like, the water, or I guess the cliff facing from the north inside the circle. That's kind of wild looking at it as another drop. Are they going to get away with it? Can BNB just... I mean, what do you even do? Because it feels like even if you kill one, they're like, surprise, I'm back. Late game, don't even care.
I mean, it just shows you that the pressure in this lobby, no one has the confidence to really push a team like this. And for good reason. I mean, it's not really beneficial for that team because they're going to lose 1 to 2 members. We know that's how good Awope, ADMP, and Dynasty are. They're going to lose 1. So then with 2, even if you wipe all of BNB, are you going to be able to finish them because they've got such mobile legends? Or are you going to be able to, let's say you do finish them, fight the team that shows up afterwards? That's the issue. And I think most of these squads and this entire lobby has now been taught. They've been given examples. They've been molded into knowing that it's not really worth it pushing this team. It just doesn't help us, and it only helps them.
Yeah, and with 3 up, you can see that just a few seconds after that, 2 squads now gone. BNB, formula is still going. They're going to be coming in right back behind Trayvon. The rest of the team is... Looks like we are going to see them try to push up in the north where Infamous Sniper is going to be at, as Jay Jack is going to be able to come in with Josh Velo. They're going to take down the last member of a toaster. So, Fat Rips also going to get spotted out. High Precision is going to get eliminated. Boy, I didn't say that with any precision at all. Now we've got 6 up, and it's going to be BNB versus Jay Jack's team.
Dynasty to Awope. Pushing in onto Jay Jack and Josh Velo. ADMP is low. Could this be the story of Jay Jack taking down the Titans of the Apex Legends Master Circuit? What a story it would be. It doesn't feel like it's his day, though. Even though it's always his day when you talk Jay Jack. It will be BNB doing something incredible. They got downed once, then a second time. And they are going to make this one last. Josh Velo knows it. He's given up all his armors and saying there's really no reason for us to do this. Let's punch it out.
I know.
I'd like to see that.
You can see this is the way it's going to go.
Let's punch it out.
Oh.
No!
Oh, bad manners. Bad manners.
But I do absolutely love it when you take a look at what BNB have put together today. 4 out of 5 wins, over 100 points. And with this game right here, they will get, I believe, above 130. It is an insane day. It is a record-breaking day. And I think one of their games, they actually got only 3 points. So this just, when you add it all up together, Matchroom, this is Apex Legends Master Circuit at its finest. Somebody's going to have to stop this team rolling into the finals. I don't know. They're looking like my favorite.
This could be one of the biggest problems that we could see that come up for Fake Preds as well as Titanis. Taking this day off has now invigorated BNB. They're like, no, we figured out how to make this work. They figured out how to exploit it. They got more time to play around with it. And now they're coming in real confident. And the question is it going to be enough to now deal with the other 2 heavy hitters that were causing them so much problems and denying them being able to play at this team?
You are absolutely right. I mean, 100%. Are they going to be able to do that and, you know, figure out everything going on in terms of having a day off, letting a team get momentum, trying to come back in, saying, you know, we want to have the same level right as when we, you know, picked up right where we left off? I don't know. It's not easy to say. What I do know is that you don't give yourself a chance to find out. And for me as a competitor, when you really care about something, you know, it's sometimes the people who show up day in, day out who have the confidence on Championship Sunday. I'm very, very excited to see these teams go head-to-head here as well.
Fall into that Naruto style of mindset. Work hard, constantly keep working, and prove that you can be there. As you can see, that's what it's coming down to at the end of the day. How much can you learn time and time again? As the story of the day was just B&B over and over again. We thought MX Rollers were going to be able to put up a fight there for just a second because, I mean, even if you're MX Rollers, you got to be proud of the game that you put up earlier today. But it hurts to only be able to get that one in watch what B&B managed.
Yeah, I mean, that's truly where you're going to find just a new type of, I think, journey for teams in the Master Circuit right now. B&B showing that we really are on another level. In fact, get rid of your stuff, throw down your weapons, throw down your arms, and fight us how we want to be fought. In a way, basically, where we have weapons and you are barehanded. It certainly felt like that throughout most of the day, and I said they might get over 30 points. Well, that's certain now. This is another 37-point game. I can't believe it. They've done it now twice today. That is unreal.
And what, 8,000, 9,000 damage?
Yeah, just about. Just about. That's insane.
That is crazy to see. As I think it's like 9,100-ish, somewhere around there, 9,200. At 20% shot accuracy. What do you want? What do you want?
What do you want? I don't know, but I'm going to tell you, this is really something special that we're witnessing, that we witnessed. And, hey, more power to you, especially to change Legends and keep it going. They said it's not about the Legends. It's not about the composition. All that high-level analysis you were trying to do about why Pathfinder over Bloodhound, blah, blah, blah. We're just going to switch it up here, and we'll do the same exact thing. Neighbors, Copium, Ruthless Ramparts, Milk Bros, Parallel, outside of the top 10 this time, but I believe they've already qualified, so they might have just been playing for a chance at some money. Parallel, I believe, doing a good job winning in one of these games, one of these match points. So, really, it was also a great day of seeing the legend of Jay Sean Jack get born. Metal Gear's just make it with a top 2 there. Into the money, $150 for them. A toaster getting the same exact thing. Rollers MX in second based on the big win that they had, which is crazy because I think a toaster over the course of the day were more consistent. You could see that in the placement points clearly. Just didn't have as much of a pop-off game. And B&B, Matrimonial, what about that?
I just realized B&B might have thought it was Jay Sean Jack that was still up, that was trying to take swings at them, and not Josh Velo. And that's why they decided to use guns, because you can't win a fist fight against Jay Sean Jack.
That's right. They realized they were outnumbered. They thought they had the advantage. Then they realized who it was. They realized, no, we're the ones in trouble. We're not in a cliff edge with Jay Sean, you know, with us. He's there, and we're with him. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. But, hey, they make it out alive. Jay Sean Jack gets in the money. I'm happy about that. I think everyone should be here in the PlayStation community. We had some fun with it today, and you know that's really what matters for these players.
And that's what it's about, building the community, trying to get everything to grow. This is just the start of something amazing. We also want to make sure that we're giving a shout out to PlayStation, everybody else for everything that they're doing. There is a ton of action, but January 6th, Rain Day, that's going to be a big day.
That's right. I cannot wait. Sorry. Well, January 6th is going to be a big day because it's Master Circuit Final Eve, right? You know, you go to sleep, you're like, kid. It's like Christmas Eve coming up. We're so excited. 9 a.m. Pacific time, January 7th. That is where we'll have the final. All these big name teams, Fake Preds, CPT, Rollers MX, Titanus, B&B, going at it for the prizing. $1,500 and PS5s for each member of the squad. Up for grabs for second and first place. Insane day of prizing. They'll have $600, though, from today, thanks to their result. Also coming up in the future, we've got Dragon Ball Fighters. Street Fighter champion edition fight nights, as well as Madden 23 Last Chance Qualifier and Tekken 7 fight nights. So a little bit of something for everybody, especially to close out this week. Tomorrow, obviously no show, but Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and of course on the day before New Year's Eve, there will be more PlayStation Tournaments broadcasts. You can see all of that information on compete.playstation.com if you are needing of a reminder for that schedule. Also want to let them know, and Matcham, you talked about it earlier, there's a Discord that people can sign up into and join us and kind of be a part of as well, to join the PlayStation community and interact with us. Got some interviews going on over there, and it's really simple to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, really, you just kind of bring up your phone, or you can just jump into it. You can see the fact that we do also put the link in for you guys is you can join the PlayStation Tournaments Community Discord to find regular updates on esports events, articles, videos, and meet others to improve your game win. PlayStation Tournaments Community Discord regularly hosts play sessions, interviews with figures in the community, and all kinds of other special content, so make sure you hop in on that. And I just want to say, every single person that I've met on the PlayStation team has been just phenomenally nice and provided so much insight and information on what's going on, so you want to hop in there and at least get to know the community, because I promise everybody has been super chill.
Yeah, I mean, I just joined it right now, like literally, because we have the chance. I wanted to see how easy it was to do on your phone. That easy. You could instantly be in. So go ahead and open your phone, throw the camera onto that QR code. You will be taken right away, and you'll be able to start interacting with the community and building more of a home for you and your friends with compete.playstation.com and our tournaments. Also, want to let you know about the Win-a-thon. Rack up wins in PlayStation tournaments through all of December and January for a chance to win prizes like the new DualSense Edge controller or PS5 consoles. Sign up on console and start competing for prizes today. Full rules can be read on compete.playstation.com. If you're witnessing a theme, it's because there is one. You can get pretty much all the information you need on these broadcasts or on compete.playstation.com. Matcham, it's been fantastic working with you today. I want to give you a chance to have some final thoughts and words over what we've seen across Europe, across North America, to finish off Wildcard Day number 4.
I gotta say, these are some of the highest kill count games. Everybody that's been involved, massive respect. The teams that were playing with just 2, the heart that you managed to bring into this. Even if you aren't at the top of the leaderboard and you're still trying to play for qualifications, or you're still just trying to improve yourself, you deserve respect. It's not an easy path to instantly end up pro, and even teams like B&B, you just don't start that way. It takes time to get into that stage, so respect to you guys for fighting it through, but teams like B&B, mad respect. That's just phenomenal. And yes, Rain Day, I'm so excited. Again, I've worked at ALGS and back in production for forever. It is so good to finally work with you, man. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I love the banter that we've been able to go through this whole time, so had fun, man.
Likewise, man. I had fun. We'll have to get that anime opening song singing session going, and maybe at another time when we do this, but it's always a pleasure, and looking forward to doing more. Matcham, of course, joining us on the broadcast. Always great to have you here in PlayStation. And again, a big shout out to everyone behind the scenes who makes this possible. Our producers, our broadcast coordinators, everyone behind the scenes on PlayStation, ESL, and everyone running this show for us, putting it together, and the players and the community who shows up day in and day out to make this happen. It wouldn't be possible without all of you. I want to wish you all a very amazing holiday season, too. Spend time with your family and your loved ones. Know that although we're competing here, we really are encouraging more of a family, whether it's in gaming or in life, to come together and do things as only people who come together can. Thank you so much for being here. My name has been Rain Day. As always, remember to never give up, never stop gaming, and we will see you all next time.